Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto gets attached to Rias part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. After Nagato finished using Jito Art of Rin Rebirth to revive everyone that was killed during the attack, he had passed away, so Konan took his body to be buried. Naruto, wanting to double check if Nagato had actually done it, quickly went into Sage mode once more. To his relief, he could sense everyone alive again, and Kakashi-sensei is coming this way too. The tired yet happy smile came across his face. They're back, they're really back. As he met up with Kakashi, Naruto sensed something weird. What is that? Naruto questioned. He really hoped it wasn't something dangerous, cause damn it, he was tired, and not just physically, he was mentally and emotionally tired as well, and he was not in the mood for another battle. Naruto, what is it? Is everything alright? Asked Kakashi as he stared at Naruto with concern. I don't know, Kakashi-sensei, I sense something off. I don't know what it is, but I know for sure it's not supposed to be here. Naruto honestly didn't know how he should deal with this new development, as he didn't want to fight another possible big bad that decided to show up, so he was tempted to say screw it, let's go home. On the other hand, he didn't want everything he just went through to be for naught, so with it he took a deep breath and steeled his resolve once more and made his decision. Kakashi-sensei, stay here, I'm gonna go check it out, Naruto said as he prepared to head out in his direction, but Kakashi reached out and stopped him. Wait Naruto, I'm coming with you, Kakashi said. What? No way, Kakashi-sensei, you died during the pain attack, do you hear me? You died. I just lost both of my masters to the same guy. I'm not losing you a third time. Naruto practically yelled. No way was he gonna lose his master 3 times in a row. Be that as it may, Naruto, but as your sensei you're my responsibility, and a sensei never abandons his student, Kakashi retorted. Naruto could do nothing but sigh at his master's words, but at least he had some backup in case something went wrong, so he gave him a small smile. Okay Kakashi-sensei, but be careful, I don't need you dying on me again. Kakashi gave him a small chuckle. Shouldn't I be telling you that, Naruto? Let's go. Right Kakashi-sensei, Naruto nodded as the duo set out to whatever had popped up on Naruto's radar. As they got closer, of course, the sensation Naruto had felt also got stronger. Naruto couldn't understand just what he was sensing here. It felt like it was moving, but it also wasn't moving from its spot. Eventually, they reached the point where Naruto felt the sensation was strongest. As Naruto reached out to see if he could feel anything, a rip appeared, and Naruto quickly jumped back to the tree where Kakashi was standing. Kakashi-sensei, what the hell is that? Naruto exclaimed. I don't know, but it looks like some type of portal. It looks similar to when I use my Kamui, but this looks like something different entirely, Kakashi responded, but to both of their surprises, the portal started to pull. Kakashi, always quick to react, grabbed something and planted his feet to the tree branch, using chakra to be sure Naruto grab onto something quick. Arg, right, Naruto grabbed onto the nearest branch and held on tight, but the pull was so strong the branch he was holding onto started to crack. Naruto started to put chakra to his feet, but due to him using Sage mode so many times on top of using the 9 tails chakra, you could say that the man was beyond exhausted. Crack. And that was the only thing keeping him from flying into the portal-looking thing. Ah, Naruto screamed as he flew fast, heading straight for the portal. Naruto. Kakashi quickly sprung into action as he lunged to grab Naruto and pull him to safety, but he was once again too late, and Naruto flew into the portal to who knows where. Kakashi could only look on in horror as the portal closed, leaving him alone. Kakashi looked down in sorrow at his hand as the only thing that he had managed to grab. Naruto's headband. Naruto didn't know how to describe where he was at the moment. To him there were just a bunch of colors, as if a kid just took whatever colors they could find and slapped it on something and called it art. He couldn't even see anything for miles. There was nothing, like literally nothing, no buildings, no wind, not even a speck of dust. It's like he got sucked into the abyss, though it made more sense the more he thought about it. Naruto tried to move, but found he was way too exhausted to do so. I guess all that fighting really did a number on me, huh, Naruto thought as he looked around some more. Naruto thought he saw something in the distance. It was small, but Naruto was sure he saw it. As he tried calling out to it, he felt that he was getting weaker as his vision started to blacken. No, I can't black out now, I still have to get back. The last thing Naruto saw before his vision went completely black was a girl with black hair tilting her head in curiosity. But the elemental nations. Kakashi could not believe what had just happened to his student. How did this happen? How did he let this happen? He was too late again, just like he was 3 years ago to stop Sasuke, and now 2 core members of Team 7 have left the village. He tried looking with his Sharingan to see if any trace of the portal was still there, even going as far as to use his Mangekyo. Kakashi checked, double-checked, and even triple-checked every inch of the area, but to no avail. Whatever it was that took Naruto was long gone. Losing hope, Kakashi fell to his knees and punched the ground hard, and he kept on punching the ground until he couldn't feel his hand anymore. After exerting all of his frustration, Kakashi got up from the small crater he made and walked back to the destroyed Leaf Village with a depressing thought. Naruto Kushina Minato sensei, I'm sorry. The day would forever be known as the day the Hidden Leaf Village took two devastating blows. It was truly a sad day for everyone in the Leaf, as today marks the day that Naruto Uzumaki, the hero of the Hidden Leaf, went MIA. With Naruto, as Naruto came to, he found his eyes being assaulted by the sunlight. As Naruto squinted to let his vision adjust, he tried to sit up only to fall back down, as his body had not been given time to recover from his fight with pain. Ugh, where am I? Naruto questioned as he checked his surroundings, noticing that he was in a forest. After getting up, albeit with a bit of difficulty, Naruto started to walk around to see if he could find anything. After walking for about 15 minutes, Naruto started to get hungry as his stomach started rumbling. Naruto sheepishly scratched the back of his head. Hey, now find us something later, Naruto said as he looked around once more, only to find he was still surrounded by trees. But there's nothing nearby, which means I'm gonna have to go hunting again, Naruto thought with a little bitterness to it. Looks like I'm back to square one, literally. Naruto then sat out to find something to sate his hunger for now. After about 5 minutes, Naruto found a lake with a good amount of fish in it. Perfect fish, it's not ramen, but it will do just fine, Naruto then took out 4 of his kunes and with perfect aim, hit 4 of the fish that were in the lake. Sorry fishies, but it was either you or me, Naruto thought as he gathered up the fish and the material needed to start a fire and cook his meal. As the fish started to cook, Naruto sat down and mulled over everything that had just happened to him recently. Okay, so I beat pain and saved the village. Next, this portal-looking thing appeared out of nowhere and sucked me into this weird colorful place. Then I pass out from exhaustion and now I'm lost in the middle of nowhere with no way home. As the realization slowly dawned on him, Naruto's eyes widened as the reality of his situation creeped in, so did his depression. What do I do now? I'm stuck in the middle of God knows where with no way back. I lost everything. My home, my friends, my dream, everything. I just got everything back and now. Naruto then shook his head to clear his thoughts before they could go any deeper. He then started to eat the fish that he cooked as he thought about what he was going to do now. No, now's not the time for that. What I need to do now is find a way out of here. Naruto then finished his food and he got up and rubbed his chin as he started pacing back and forth as he started to brainstorm ideas. What would Sakura-chan do? Naruto thought. Then an image of Sakura appeared going cha and punching something before it faded. Naruto felt a shiver go down his spine and he shook his head to boot that idea. Okay, not helpful. What would Kakashi-sensei do? Naruto suddenly had an epiphany as he shot up from the ground as he slammed his fist into his palm. I need to find civilization. Civilization means people and people means information and information means a way back home. Man, he was glad he thought of that idea. Maybe all of those teachings Zero Sennin and Bachan jammed into him, the latter being literal, weren't useless after all. As Naruto finally knew what he needed to do, Naruto decided to pack his stuff, which was nothing but his dirty tracksuit and red haori, and head in the direction of civilization. But as he started to move, Naruto stopped as he found himself with a glaring problem. Which way do I go exactly? As Naruto started to look in different directions for anything useful. Seeing none, Naruto let out a tired sigh before walking in a random direction. Welp, looks like I'm going in blind. Civilization, here I come. After what seemed like forever, Naruto finally found a way out of the forest as he came out of the bushes while taking a bunch of branches and leaves out of his hair. As Naruto looked up, he saw a sign that said welcome to Kuo Town. Naruto found himself flabbergasted as he looked past the sign and saw buildings that were massive. Seriously, these buildings make the Hokage's mansion look like a pebble. Naruto wandered into town looking around in astonishment as he'd never seen something like this before. However, Naruto was in a populated area and because he was in a populated area he was drawing a lot of attention to himself. To anyone who looked at him he looked like a foreigner, which he was more than as he's from another world, but he doesn't know that yet. That attention only served to grow when Naruto stepped straight into traffic and right into the path of a car. Hey, get out of the way, the person driving screamed as the strange doohickey, at least to Naruto, headed straight for him with a decent amount of speed. Instead of panicking, Naruto started waving his hands as if trying to get the driver's attention. It worked as the car screeched to a halt, stopping just at the tip of Naruto's feet. The driver was revealed to be a middle-aged woman as she rolled down her window to reprimand Naruto for his actions. What do you think you're doing, kid? Are you trying to get yourself killed? The woman exclaimed, but to her confusion, Naruto said nothing as he walked up her window and asked her a question. Sorry lady, for stepping in front of your whatever this is, but would you mind telling me where I am? You see, I'm a little lost. The woman was more than a little confused by the question. You're in Kuo Town, kid, didn't you read the sign outside? Naruto, who was still unaware of the attention he was getting as he completely stopped traffic, responded to her question with another question. Yes, but what I mean, where is Kuo Town exactly? The woman sighed but answered his question nevertheless. Listen kid, you're causing a bit of a commotion here, but if you must know where you are in Japan. Okay. I see, thank you for your help lady. Naruto said with a nod. The woman just gave him a small smile along with a nod. You're welcome. Next time if you're lost don't do something crazy like jumping in front of a car, go to a police station, they can help you. The woman then rolled up her window and drove off as Naruto walked backwards. It was only then Naruto noticed what the lady was talking about as literally everyone was staring at him. Naruto then started to blush from embarrassment as he scratched the back of his head. Sorry everyone, I'm just gonna go. Naruto then started to run, leaving a comical dust of air behind him. Weirdo air random civilian said. As Naruto started to slow down into a walk he decided to think about the info he just acquired. Japan. What the hell is Japan? I've never heard of a place called Japan, and I've been all around the elemental nations during my 3-year training trip with Hiro Sennin. Naruto then shook his head as a thought suddenly occurred to him unless no, but that couldn't be right. I've never heard of anywhere outside of the elemental nations. I mean sure there's the small villages outside the 5 great countries, but Naruto then started to grab his head and shake it in frustration. Arg, all this thinking is making my head hurt. It doesn't matter where I am or how far I am from home, I'm gonna find a way out of here, get back home and keep my promise to Sakura-chan, then become Hokage. I didn't give up back then, and I ain't gonna start giving up now cause that's my ninja way. He had told himself that 1 year ago, and now 17-year-old Naruto Uzumaki can be seen walking through the park deep in thought about the past year. When he first came to this place he was sure he could find a way out of here and back to Konoha in no time. Boy how wrong he was. It would be an understatement to say his time here in this town was a rough one. A couple days in he realized he had no money, absolutely none, which meant he was homeless for the better part of the year. He also had to constantly pickpocket civilians for money, something he took zero enjoyment out of, though he only took enough so he could buy necessities like food and clothes. His jumpsuit and haori he was wearing was getting him a lot of attention. Another thing he had found out about this place was that the civilians were weak, like weaker than what he considered weak. He had stumbled upon an attempted assault on a man in an alley. When the leader of the group assaulting the man tried to punch him, he dodged and punched him right back. Although Naruto didn't put any power to that punch, he was shocked when the man almost died. Thankfully no one saw his face cause it was nighttime. Naruto learned 2 things that week. The people of this town were weak, and number 2 was that these people had no chakra. He had found that one out about a day after the assault incident when he went into sage mode and scanned the people of the town. The fact that the people here had absolutely zero chakra and was still breathing unnerved him greatly, because as far as he was concerned every living being needed at least some chakra to survive. He had a theory as to why this was, but he refused to entertain it, cause it brought him sorrow every time he thought about it. So here he was now walking through the park to get to his job to open up shop. Yes, you heard right, Naruto Uzumaki has a job, he had to get one if he wanted to stop robbing innocent people. It was, as you'd probably guessed it, a ramen stand. Apparently this place had no ramen in any of the places he went to eat, and being the fanatic that he is he could not allow this disrespect to his favorite food go unchecked, and thus Naruto's ramen had been created. It wasn't very popular, but it was very convenient when people got hungry, and it did help him pay his rent on time, plus it was the only thing that brought him some type of comfort as it reminded him of home. It also kinda helped that he was the only one working there so he could keep all the money the shop earned. As Naruto made it to his shop and got set up, he watched as several students of the school he was going to soon pass by. Yeah, he couldn't wait to get back home cause it was mandatory for someone his age to go to school. So unless he wanted a trip to the police station he had to go to school again. He also couldn't get into Kuo Academy without some legal documents, so using his skills as a ninja, he forged some pretty solid information, though the only real thing on those documents was his name and date of birth. As regards to his progress on getting back to the elemental nations. None, he was no closer to getting home than he was a year ago, and not for a lack of trying. He was searching non-stop for the whole year. He had gone from asking around Japan to using the local library, something he was loath to do. He had even tried using most of his chakra to see if anything would happen. That idea left him bedridden for a week, and none of his ideas had any positive results. Although Naruto hadn't given up on going home, it was getting harder to continue every day after he came to the realization that he was going to be here for a while. After a few hours of working, Naruto closed up his shop and walked back to his apartment. This has been his routine for the past year, doing it so often he could do it blind. "I'm back," Naruto called out, but as he expected there was no response when he walked in. He then gave a sad sigh at this. Honestly, he should be used to this given his past, but some days it just hits a little harder than others coming home to an empty house. That's another thing that really bothers him about being in this place. He was alone, truly alone, and he hasn't felt this way in a long time. He also hadn't heard from the Kyuubi since his fight with Pain. The thing that had tipped him off about this was when Naruto was mourning over his loss of his master and everything else, and he didn't sense him reaching out, no words, no temptation, not even a whisper. At first he was a little relieved that the Kyuubi didn't try anything. But one day he wanted to talk to somebody badly, so he went into his mindscape to contact the Kyuubi. only to find out that he wasn't there at all. Naruto couldn't believe he was saying this, but damn it, he misses the damn fox. Now he knows that he and the Kyuubi didn't have the best relationship, but the Kyuubi's disappearance only served to drive home the fact that here he was more alone now than he'd ever had been. You know Sasuke, I think I finally understand what you meant back then. Flashback, you don't have any parents or siblings, how could you understand? You've been alone from the very beginning, what could you possibly understand about me, huh? Flashback end, this is how you felt every day, isn't it Sasuke, knowing everyone and everything you've ever known was ripped away. It's torture. Naruto then shook his head to clear his thoughts as he went to go hang up his Kuo Academy uniform on the doorknob of the dresser. Naruto got in his bed and started sulking about the fact that he has to go back to school before falling asleep about an hour later. But the elemental nations. Naruto Uzumaki's disappearance was a big curveball to the Hidden Leaf Village as well as to the ninja world. Of course, being the Jinchuriki of the infamous nine-tailed fox, losing him was a critical hit to Konoha's military power as well as to the power balance throughout the world. Konoha was in a really tight spot right now as they lost both of their most powerful heavy hitters. It has been 1 year since his mysterious departure and no one has any luck even finding a possible trail to his whereabouts. Kakashi woke up with a start from another nightmare. After the events leading up to Naruto's disappearance, Kakashi started to have nightmares about Naruto falling into the portal. Kakashi looked at his hand before turning his head to look at the nearest wall. On the wall hung what he considered his failure as a teacher. Naruto and Sasuke's headband. Naruto had given him Sasuke's headband for safekeeping before going on his trip with Jiraiya, but due to everything that's happened since his return, Kakashi never had the time to give it back. After the fight with Pain, Kakashi had hung Naruto's headband next to Sasuke's as a reminder to the students he felt he had failed. After staring at them for a couple minutes, Kakashi got out of bed and went to get ready to head out on his mission. His mission. The mission he was on for the past year. Find a clue to Naruto's whereabouts and bring him home. Kakashi grabbed his Anbu gear and headed out of his home. After Kakashi came back and revealed what had happened regarding Naruto's disappearance, Team 7 was disbanded shortly after. When Sakura heard this information, she was shattered. Learning both of her childhood friends and teammates had left her was too much to bear and she hyperventilated and passed out. Afterwards she fell into a deep depression as she refused to do any ninja work, opting to work at the hospital instead. These days Sakura only frequently visits 3 places. The hospital, the Naruto statue with Hinata and Ichiraku Ramen, going with Hinata once every week. After a couple of hours of searching for clues with no success, Kakashi could be seen walking towards the Hokage's mansion to give the Hokage his report on his search. This has been Kakashi's schedule for the past year. As he made it to the door of the Hokage's office, he knocked and waited for a response. Once he heard a come in, Kakashi walked into the office. Any luck on finding Naruto, Kakashi? The question came from Tsunade Senju, the current 5th Hokage. She was one of the ones most affected by his disappearance, as Naruto was the one who convinced her to become Hokage 4 years ago. Over time she had begun to think of Naruto as a son, so she was pretty heartbroken when Kakashi came back with nothing but his headband. Nothing, Lady Tsunade, and none of my Ninken were able to catch his scent, replied Kakashi. Tsunade could only give a sad sigh at his words, then she sat straight up in her chair with her face showing a calm expression, but you could still see the pain in her eyes. I see, and the Kazekage haven't seen or heard anything about him either. What's your report on the Akatsuki? Nothing too important report on them either. After the fight with Pain they have barely made a move, although rumors say that Sasuke had joined them for a brief period but left soon after. Sasuke? There also hasn't been much activity from him since Itachi's death either. Tsunade replied, it's true, Sasuke hasn't been spotted since his battle with Itachi. However, the rumors about his brief team up with the Akatsuki were a little concerning if they were true. Do you think Naruto may have had something to do with his inactivity, Lady Tsunade? Might be, you said you saw him during the presentation of the Naruto statue, right? It's odd, isn't it? All that talk about severing his bond with Naruto, yet he still made an appearance. Konoha had built a statue of Naruto near the graveyard in order to honor the hero of the village a couple of months back. People to this day visit and take good care of that statue, 2 people in particular. That is correct. Sasuke did make an appearance, but he was far in the back and in the shadows. We sent some ninjas after him, but they were all taken down. We would have sent some more after him, but our forces were spread thin as well, and doing so would cause a public panic, and that was the last thing we needed at the time. Tsunade nodded at his words before her face dropped its calm expression and into one of concern. How are you holding up, Kakashi? Tsunade asked Kakashi as he was also one of the people that was hit the hardest from Naruto's disappearance. I'm fine, Lady Tsunade, Kakashi replied, keeping his calm demeanor. He then turned around to exit the mansion. Tsunade's voice reached out to him. I miss him too, you know. It's been hard to go on without him. Tsunade said. Yes it has, was Kakashi's only response. As he was in the doorframe, Tsunade's voice reached out once more. Check on Sakura for me, will you? If you need to find, she should be where she usually goes these days. Instead of giving a verbal answer, Kakashi only nodded his acceptance at the request and walked out the Hokage's office to search for the last remaining member of the original Team 7. But Naruto woke up with a groan. The sun was beaming straight into his eyesight, preventing him from going back to sleep. Well, he couldn't even if he wanted to. He has school in a few. Body hated the sound of that, but the sigh. Naruto sat up in his bed and stared at nothing. Actually, he was just staring into space. After staring at nothing for a few minutes, he got out of his bed and cracked his back. He then released a relieved sigh as he walked into his bathroom to brush his teeth. Naruto looked in the mirror as he went to grab his toothpaste. His hair had grown over the past year, and his eyes, which were once bright blue, now on the dull side due to his failed attempts to get home. Now, if you were to ask a random person, they would say his eyes were regular blue, but to anyone who knew him, they would definitely say he's depressed. He had also grown a little taller, becoming 5'7". After getting done in the bathroom, Naruto walked out to get dressed in his Kuo Academy uniform. Naruto looked at his uniform with distaste before putting it on. However, Naruto wore an orange t-shirt with a custom-made Uzumaki swirl on the back, though no one can see it due to the blazer on his back. He took one last look at himself before giving a sigh. "I'm heading out," Naruto said before stepping out the door. It took him a couple minutes to get to Kuo Academy cause he got lost a couple times along the way. He had to admit the school was huge. Due to Naruto being a new student, Naruto was met at the gate by the president of the student council, Sauna Shitori. "You're the new student Naruto Uzumaki, correct?" Sauna asked him. Naruto looked at the bespectacled young woman with curious eyes. For some reason, Naruto got the sense that something wasn't quite right with this woman, but then again, nothing in this place seemed right to him, so he put it out of his mind for now and answered the woman's question. "Yep, that's me," Naruto replied with a bit of a melancholic tone. Naruto normally would have answered with an energetic tone like, "Yo, that's me you're looking at, Naruto Uzumaki." But he hasn't really felt like his energetic self since coming here. "Follow me quickly so you can get to your schedule, you're almost late to your first class," Sauna said in a strict tone as she turned around and started walking towards the school. Naruto shrugged before saying, "I got lost on the way here," but it wasn't like she could see him actually shrug. Nevertheless, Naruto followed her without much complaint. After quickly getting his schedule and being rushed to his class by student council president, Naruto knocked on the door and waited for a response. After hearing "come in," Naruto walked in as the teacher announced him as the new student and waved a lazy hand towards his classmates. "Yo, Naruto Uzumaki," was all he said. "Okay, now that the introductions are out of the way, Naruto, you can sit in that empty seat by Kiba," the teacher said. "And who might that be?" Naruto asked. Honestly, Naruto would have laughed a bit at the name because of its familiarity, but before he could, the guy named Kiba raised his hand. "Over here, Naruto-san," Kiba said in a polite tone as Naruto walked over and gave him a nod and sat down. Apparently that had been the wrong thing to do as chaos erupted in the classroom in the form of girls whining. "Oh, why does he get to sit next to Kiba-kun?" A girl whined. "I wanted to sit next to Kiba-kun though," another whined. "Sensei, why can't I sit next to Kiba-kun?" And another girl whined. Yeah, there was a lot of whining. Naruto could only sigh at his new predicament. Seriously, he sat down for half a second and already chaos erupted. At least this time he didn't get beat up for being near the pretty boy of the school. "Fucking Sasuke. Sorry, Naruto-san, I am quite popular among the girls of the school, you see." Kiba apologized. He honestly felt for the new guy, as popularity could sometimes be a curse. "Really, I never would have guessed you were popular," Naruto sarcastically said, though his sarcasm only made Kiba chuckle a little bit before retorting. "Yeah, you'd really have to take a closer look to notice," Kiba said with a smirk which made Naruto shake his head a bit and give a small smirk in return. And so began Naruto's life as a Kuo Academy student, where he would meet the people that would change his life forever. Not that he knew that, of course. Naruto woke up with a start as he just came out of another nightmare. Ever since that fateful day 1 year ago, Naruto hasn't had a good night of rest since his subconscious was constantly being invaded by several different nightmares, ranging from pain destroying the village, the villagers constantly bullying him, to even Sasuke killing him back at the final valley. Naruto got out of his bed to get ready to go to school. On his way out the door, he looked at the one thing he still had from his village, and that was his ninja pouches which held all his belongings, which was not very much due to past events. He hadn't really had a need for it anymore since he hadn't trained in a while, and he couldn't train because it would bring him too much attention, and number 2 was he couldn't find anywhere to train. Naruto sighed as he walked out the door, ready to get this school day over with. Rias frowned at the chessboard with a bit of frustration. She was currently in the student council room playing chess with her childhood friend and rival Sona Citri. Sona had called her to discuss a little concern about their school's new student, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto had flown under their radar when he came to their school. Sona had only found out about him last minute on his first day, as he didn't even take the entrance exam he was just accepted in, and the fact that he had flown under both of their radars was cause for concern. Rias knew nothing about a new student until she heard from gossip that Kiba hangs around him these days. It is a bit concerning that he just appeared out of nowhere, Rias said as she moved her knight to a spot where she could take Sona's rook. Not only that, all of his information concerning his background is all fake, the only thing real about him is his name, Sona said as she moved to take one of Ria's rooks. Sona's words had caught her attention as she looked at her rival the game of chess, all but forgotten really. Everything except his name is fake. What about his date of birth? Rias questioned. It was a little surprising to hear that all of that got past her and Sona with zero suspicion. It could also be fake for all I know. Well, his date of birth could be true. I also checked all hospitals in Japan for the names Naruto or Uzumaki, and neither of his names appeared anywhere. It's like he appeared out of nowhere. Sona said with her usual seriousness, if this new student was someone dangerous, then Ria's knight was in trouble. Ria's eyes narrowed and her expression and tone took on a serious one. So in other words, we might have a threat in our territory. Sona nodded at her rival's words could be, but then again I can't sense any supernatural power coming from him, so it could be a foreign human, but that also doesn't explain the fake documents. In any case, I'll give Udo a heads up and have Kaneko watch him from afar to see if she can pick something up. Rias said. Well, that's what she said, she had another goal in mind. Sona studied her friend's expression for a couple of seconds before coming to a conclusion, knowing you have another end goal in mind, don't you Rias? At this Rias just smiled, sometimes her childhood friend knew her too well. Naruto was laying back on a tree as he watched with bitter amusement as the perverted trio, three of the most hated people of the school as he quickly found out, got jazzed by the members of the kendo, and that blonde girl, that always hangs with them trying to play peacekeeper. They're just like you. Naruto said with a sad smile. His late master would have definitely loved them, hell if they had chakra Naruto would go to say that those three would have been his star pupils. Who are they like, Naruto? A voice said next to him. Naruto knew who this was. This was the guy who he sits next to every day, the one who refused to leave him alone, even when he tried to outright avoid him. This man was the #1 pretty boy of Kuo Academy. Kiba Udo. He didn't know why he chose to hang out with him over anybody else, as he was one of the most popular in the school, and he was just the new guy. No one that you know, any reason why you are here Kiba? Naruto questioned. Is it wrong to want to hang out with a friend? Kiba asked. If you'd asked why he chose to hang out with the new kid he would honestly say he just wanted another guy to talk to. Shirise was a great friend, but he was more or less thinking about a woman's chest 24/7. So he wanted to befriend the new guy, but he didn't know why he was so dead set on avoiding everyone in the school. No, there's nothing wrong with wanting to hang out with a friend, but whoever said we were friends Kiba? Naruto said with a cold tone in his voice. Kiba's smile dropped a tiny bit, but nevertheless shrugged and sat next to Naruto. Well, everyone else seems to think we're friends, they even have a name for us. Kiba said. And what name would that be, oh pretty one? They already have a name for them. He's only been here for about a week and he already has a title, wow. The Golden Boys of Kuo I think Kiba answered. Naruto rolled his eyes and leaned back further into the tree. After a few moments of silence Kiba spoke up. Can I ask you something, Naruto? Kiba asked. Shoot, Naruto retorted. He was hoping he wouldn't ask him where he was from or something like that because he did not study that information he forged up, and if he did ask him that he was screwed. You don't look like someone from Japan, so where are you from? Kiba asked. But you gave him a heads up about Naruto on his way here, so he decided to use this opportunity to learn more about this possible foe, though he hoped that he could befriend him if possible. Me and Big Mouth Man, luck just was not on his side these days, but then again when has luck ever been on his side? He wouldn't be Naruto Uzumaki if he got what he wanted. Does it really matter where I'm from really? He just had to ask the one question he wasn't able to, nor was he going to answer. He didn't know what Kiba's goal was right now, call him paranoid or it's his master's training in overdrive mode, but there was something off about this guy. Now that he thought about it he's been getting the same feeling about some of the students in this school. It's the exact same feeling he got when he met Sauna. I suppose not though, I was just curious, Kiba answered. He had noticed that Naruto avoided the question. Kiba stored that in the back of his mind for now. Naruto sighed as he got up from his tree and started to move on to his next class. Before he got far he turned his head to look at his fellow blonde in the eyes. Look Kiba, I know what you're trying to do and I appreciate it, but I don't need nor do I want friends, just leave me alone. With his words said Naruto left him to his spot on the tree. A few minutes later, with classes done and over with, Naruto quickly left the school premises determined to not stay there more than needed to. As he was walking to open up shop, he got the sense that someone was following him. Due to his training he could easily tell when someone was following him, but since the people here were so weak he wasn't entirely sure, so he took a couple detours on the way. After being sure that someone wasn't following him, he picked up the pace to his ramen stand, opened up shop, got the ingredients out and got to cooking. The bills can't pay themselves, though I wish they could. Rias was just getting out of the shower when the rest of peerage had come in. But we've returned. A beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, very long black hair and violet eyes. This was Ria's longtime friend Akeno Himejima. We're back, a petite girl with white hair and gold eyes said. This pretty young lady was Ria's rook Kaneko Taoju, the mascot of Kuo Academy. Hey but This voice came from the number one enemy of the school, the most infamous member of the perverted trio Issei Haidu, one of the two newest additions to her family. We've returned, a pretty young girl with long blonde hair and green eyes stated along with her other members. Her name is Asia Argento, the second of the newest additions to Ria's peerage. Welcome back everyone. Rias said with a smile. Kiba Kaneko, did you manage to find anything? Rias asked. Sort of, but there's nothing important that I got out of him, but he did avoid my question when I asked him where he was from, Kiba answered. Rias nodded at his words, and she turned her head to her rook to hear her answer. Lost him in an alley but got his scent, the rook provided. If anyone asked her, this boy had the weirdest scent she ever picked up on so far. His scent was a combination of a fox, a toad, and ramen. There was also something else there, but she couldn't put her finger on it. But what's going on? Asked her pawn with a bit of worry. Rias gave him a reassuring smile as she answered him. Sorry Issei, it was last minute so I only had enough time to warn Kiba and Kaneko, but there's a new student around campus and I'm having Kiba and Kaneko tail him. A new student? Don't you think we would have heard about a new student? Her queen asked. That's what's so concerning about him, he flew under all of our radars, even Sona's. The only one of us who knew about him was Kiba because he shares a class with him. Rias answered. At her words her knight bowed his head in apology. I'm sorry but if I knew about the circumstances of his arrival I would have told you. No need to apologize Udo, you couldn't have known about it. But what should we do? Issei asked. Issei was a little worried since this could be a potential threat to his new friends. But he was also determined to fight this guy if need be. We'll make preparations for now, but our actions from then will depend on his own. Kaneko, I want you to keep tailing him. Rias said as she walked towards her desk to sit down. Hi but Kaneko said before turning to walk out of room. Everyone else except Akeno followed suit, but when Kiba got to the door, Ria's voice reached out to stop him. Udo, I've got a different task for you. What is it, but Naruto shares a class with you, correct? I want you to befriend him if possible. Her knight nodded his head to her request. Of course but Naruto is a very distant person from what I've seen, but I will try my best. With those words Kiba left the room. It's odd isn't it? How he slipped under us like that. Akeno said. Yes it is, well we could say we were too focused on Issei and Asia to notice him, but he also slipped under Sona's radar as well, on top of that he also managed to lose Kaneko when she was tailing him. Rias answered. It seems like we have so many things being thrown at us these days. First Issei, then the whole ordeal with Asia and now this new boy, I wonder how to interpret all of this. If this Naruto turns out to be an enemy then we will deal with him accordingly. However, if Kiba can manage to befriend him, then we could have another ally instead of an enemy. Rias said before taking out a red chess piece out of her desk before twirling it in her fingers. But that chess piece, I've never seen any evil piece like that one before. Akeno said with mild curiosity. She didn't even know what type of piece it was, as it didn't look like any of the standard evil pieces. Me neither, I had got it from Ijuka-sama and my brother a year ago. They said it was just one of his first editions when he was creating the evil pieces. They didn't know what to do with it so they gave it to me. How interesting. Are you planning on using this piece to reincarnate Naruto, should Kiba befriend him? I don't know, it all depends on him. Naruto yawned in his seat as he was struggling to keep awake in class. To say he did not get a lot of sleep last night was an understatement. He had to work overtime at the shop as he was running out of ingredients to make his ramen and he was running a little behind on rent. He also only got like an hour of sleep before his subconscious was once again invaded by unpleasant dreams. He tried going back to sleep, but by then his damn alarm rang, meaning he had to go back to this damn school. It also didn't help that he was in history class. Honestly, he didn't care enough to learn about this place's history. Although the stories he did hear about this place only brought back his theory on why he couldn't find a single piece of info about his home. So closing his eyes and putting his head on the table, Naruto decided to get a few minutes of shut-eye before the end of class. Never mind. But the very annoyed grown Naruto gathered his bags and headed out the door quickly to avoid being approached by his fellow blonde. Naruto didn't have any problem with the guy, but he wanted to be left alone. As a matter of fact, he was sure that if he and Kiba had met back home, they would have been fast friends, but he was determined to get back home, and in order to do that he needed to shut himself away from the people of this town. As much as he hated to do that. As Naruto was headed to the roof of the school to spend his lunch period looking at the clouds, he could understand now why Shikamaru looked at them. He was stopped in the hallway by the traffic of students blocking his path, erupting in awe and cheer at the two students walking a clear path to their next class. It's Rias senpai and Akeno senpai, a girl squealed. The two students were none other than the two most popular students of the whole school. Rias Gremory and Akeno Himejima. They're always so gorgeous. It's good to see you, Akeno waved to the crowd, which only caused the already loud crowd to get even louder. Rias, however, didn't say anything as continued walking towards her next class. She stopped for a moment when her eyes met those of the object of her concern. She could sense it now that she was closer to him, that he was human, which meant he was no threat. But this information confirmed. She gave him a small smile before passing him by. As the crowd cleared and went to the cafeteria, Naruto was finally able to get to the roof of the school and mull over what just happened. Naruto was a little unnerved by the two beautiful women as they passed him by, specifically the redhead. Sure, they were two most beautiful women he'd ever saw. It didn't change the fact that they also gave off the same feeling that Kiba and Sauna has. Knowing that four people giving off the same vibe is in no way a coincidence, as well as the feeling that someone was following him, Naruto was now a little on guard. He didn't know why these people started taking an interest in him, first Kiba and now this redhead, but he had a feeling he was going to find out soon enough. Why? Because his name is Naruto Uzumaki, and Naruto Uzumaki can never catch a break no matter where he is. It seems he is quite the cutie, Akeno said with a hand on the side of her face. Rias, however, did not respond, causing Akeno to look at her in concern. But you? His eyes, did you see them? Rias asked. She recognized those eyes, how could she not? She saw those same eyes 3 times before. They were the eyes of someone that's been hurt. He did a very good job at hiding it that she almost didn't notice. On top of that, the strange piece she got a year ago appeared in her pocket when she walked past him. However, all of this only brought more questions about this mysterious newcomer. What do you mean, but you? They were dull. He did a good job at hiding it, but I can see it. He's been hurt. Akeno looked at her friend and president with a smile that held bitter humor. It seems you always come across the broken ones. Rias sighed at her queen's words and looked ahead. Just who are you, Uzumaki Naruto? Naruto has had an irritating week to say the least. Ever since his interaction with the Redeed and the Natashiko, is that what they're called? Anyway, ever since his meeting with them, people just wouldn't for the love of Raymond leave him alone. First was this student council guy who tried to get him to join the student council. Next, it was this blonde-haired girl, Asia was her name, he thinks. Well, he wasn't exactly rude, she is too nice to be outright mean to. He wasn't nice either, so he blew her off as well. Apparently that was the wrong thing to do, because then the leader of the perverted trio came up to him and demanded that he apologize to her. Boy, that caused a scene because he almost got into a fight with the guy because he saw nothing to apologize for. Rias, as he found out due to the screaming students, came in and stopped it before it could escalate. Then on top of that, he still has not made any progress on ways to get home. He tried making a transportation jutsu, but since he had no idea how that even worked, the idea blew up in his face, literally. So yeah, he was pretty irritated this past week. Now you have him in his ramen shop twirling a kunai around his finger waiting for some customers before school. Oh yeah, that's another thing that happened. When he felt that something or someone might be watching him, he had his ninja pouch on him at all times. Now he hadn't been able to fight seriously in a year, so he was pretty sure he was rusty with most of his techniques, but he kept up with his hand-to-hand combat should he have some problems. Naruto saw the flap to his shop open and slipped his kunai inside his sleeve as he got up to serve his customers. Welcome to my ramen shop, how can I? Oh no, not you two. One of the two has shaved hair and normally wears a Kuo Academy uniform with an unbuttoned blazer. The other one has shoulder-length dark brown hair and thin black eyebrows and wears rimless square glasses. These two were none other than the other two members of the infamous perverted trio, Motohama and Mitsuda. Uzumaki-san. What are you doing here? Motohama asked. It's my shop. Was the sign outside not clear enough? I mean, it does have my name on it. Naruto resisted the urge to sigh and just told them to sit down. Anyway, what would you guys like? Do you have anything else other than ramen? Mitsuda asked. Naruto got the urge to sock the near bald man in the face with every amount of strength he has after hearing that question. Stay calm, Naruto, stay calm, Naruto, stay calm, Naruto. After a few seconds of awkward silence, Naruto decided to ignore the man and just got out a pen and a sheet of paper. So that would be 2 miso ramens? He asked. When receiving a nod from Motohama, Naruto turned around to make the ramen. That is say, always hanging out with Rias senpai and her voluptuous. Motohama whined. Let's just hope she doesn't disappear along with the rest of the big girls of the school. It would be truly disastrous if all the big ladies disappeared. Mitsuda whined with comical tears going down his eyes. That had caught Naruto's attention as he was almost finished making the duo's food. Girls disappearing from school. He would have noticed if people started disappearing. Oh, who was he kidding? He doesn't pay enough attention to who goes in and out of this school. Naruto decided to listen in to see if they would say anything else useful. At this, we won't be able to look at any huge if the girls keep catching this disease and disappear. Motohama cried. A disease that only targets girls with good assets. Yeah, totally legit. Well, that was what he would say if he didn't come from a place where giant talking toads exist and can do martial arts. If things like that exist, anything is possible. Well, he could pull a Shikamaru and just mind his business. He knew that 9 times out of 10 the people that randomly disappear don't come back. Just because he doesn't want friends doesn't mean he's gonna sit back and watch the people around him be harmed. That's not who Naruto Uzumaki is. With those thoughts in his head, Naruto put the now finished ramen in the bowls and served his unknowing informants. So that stray demon was an alchemist who was working with goblins? Rias asked the virtual image. After the encounter with the stray girls around the school started disappearing, and as the caretaker of this place, Rias wanted to deal with it. Yes, we've also discovered an issue related to it. It seems as though he has synthesized a chimera from a carnivorous plant and a dragon from his laboratory and released it in your territory. The virtual image who answered Ria's question was her sister-in-law Graphia Lucifuge. What is a chimera? Asked Asia. The chimera is a monster made up of several different creatures, Asia-chan Akeno helpfully answered. The carnivorous plant part of it shouldn't be that much of a problem, but the dragon part should be a little difficult to deal with. Ria said with her hand on her chin. That's it for now, we'll contact you again if there are any updates. Alright, thank you for the information. With those parting words, the virtual Graphia disappeared. Issei was about to ask who the person on the call was, but at that moment the door to the clubroom opened. But we've returned, Kiba said while walking into the room with Kaneko. We're back, Kaneko said. Rias graced them with a smile when they came in. Good work you two, I can tell from your faces that you found something. Yeah, we tracked it down. It's most likely after the girls of this school. Kiba said. At his words, Issei tilted his head questionably. Girls? What would it want with the girls? That's what we intend to find out. Rias told Issei gently before she got up to walk to the window. As she stared out the window, she saw a certain blonde-haired student walking past the building. It seems I have to put you on hold for now, Uzumaki-san. A couple of hours later. So then the rumor that a lot of the girls suddenly got sick is false. That's right, Issei. The problem is that we picked up some traces of magic in those girls. It bothered me, so I had Yudo and Kaneko search in secret, Rias answered. Rias and her peerage were currently walking to the location of the plant. When they got there, they stopped to look at the abnormal-sized plant with some purple gem in the middle of it. Is it a plant goblin? Asia asked. No, this is, Rias started to say, but when she said that a dragon head sprouted from the middle of the flower. When Issei saw this, his eyes widened. But is that a? Yes, this is the dragon that Graphia was talking about. Rias finished for him. Finding it here saves me some trouble. Let's hide, someone's coming. The peerage found a hiding spot behind the trees and watched as 2 girls walked towards the plant-dragon hybrid. One of these girls had brown hair and was wearing a yellow pajama set. The other girl had pink hair with her hair laid back with a hairband. Issei recognized these 2 girls. These 2 girls are from my class, Kata-san Murayama. Issei watched as the plant hybrid used its tentacles to latch onto the 2 girls. What's it doing? It's sucking out their life energy. Rias told him. Issei was about to step out to confront the plant, but Rias stopped him. Hold on, Issei. But Issei started to retort, but Kiba cut him off before he could finish. Issei, judging from past cases, this won't kill them. Indeed, so let's just wait and see. Rias said, and at that moment Kaneko's nose twitched as she picked a certain scent. When she caught this scent, her eyes widened just a tiny bit. He's here. The white-haired girl said. On the outside she had her usual blank face, but on the inside she was shocked that he was here, especially with none of the others noticing. Rias looked at her questionably. She was about to open her mouth to ask who she was talking about, but at that moment 2 shurikens came out of the bush across from them and cut the tentacles on the girls. The entire group except Kaneko eyes widened as they saw a figure jump in front of the hypnotized girls. Each one of them was very surprised that he was here. How did he get here? They did not know, but one thing was for sure. None of them were expecting Naruto Uzumaki to make an appearance tonight. Flashback, when Naruto got to school he could see what the 2 perverts were talking about at his shop. Some of the girls that were at this school were missing and the other girls looked completely out of it. Though there were 2 girls in particular that looked a little different from the rest of them. Naruto knew that look. He would have been a fool if he hadn't. This was the look of someone under Genjutsu. Now that he knew that the rumors of the girls disappearing were true, it would clash with his soul if he just stood on the sidelines. So Naruto did what any ninja did and followed them discreetly. Now Naruto knew he couldn't be in 2 places at once. Oh wait, yes he can. Body loves shadow clones. After finding a secluded place in the school, Naruto double-checked to make sure no one was around and did his signature hand sign, and with a puff of smoke a perfect replica of himself appeared. You know what to do. Oh, but why do I gotta go to class? Class is so boring. Why can't you do it? The clone whined. Pause, I'm the original and what I say goes, now off you go. With that said, the clone walked away sulking about stupid originals in classes. After about an hour or two, the two girls finally left the school early, just as Naruto was starting to get bored and was about to call this stealth mission off. Alright, finally they do something. Okay, so girls go missing, check, leaving school early, check. And a decent sized chest, check. Now all that's left is to find out where they're headed, take the creep down and leave before the girls come back to their senses. Simple, right? Wrong. It took a couple of hours, but he finally found where the girls were headed. It took a long time because the two girls walked so slow, it literally took them from sunset to the middle of the night. They even took time to change into pajamas. Though that wasn't what made things complicated. When he got to the location, he was expecting a shady dude or an abandoned house or something like that. What he was not expecting was a giant plant with a gem in the middle of it. Or a head to sprout from the flower. On top of that, the damn thing just latched onto their chests and started sucking something from them. Now Naruto has definitely seen weirder stuff, but this was something he would probably find in the Icha series. Naruto gave a sigh at his predicament. Not knowing if this thing would kill them or not, Naruto sprung to action. Flashback end. You girls okay? Naruto asked, but when he looked back he got no response as the girls just walked away without a word. Wow, those girls must have been under some heavy genjutsu. When Naruto looked back at the plant, he could see it was mad at him for interrupting whatever it was doing. Naruto grabbed a kunai out of his pouch and got into a battle-ready stance. The battle now started as the plant launched its tentacles at Naruto. Naruto, however, was ready as he dodged each tentacle that was thrown at him. Another tentacle flew at him from above, but he once again dodged it by going into a forward roll. Naruto jumped forward to get in close, but even more tentacles sprouted from the ground and wrapped themselves around him, stopping him in his tracks. Oh right, it's a plant, he kinda forgot about that. The Gremory group was stunned to see this sudden turn of events. Though Rias in particular had a lot of questions running through her head, she decided to push them aside for now. But what should we do? Kiba asked. Rias could see it in his eyes that he too was confused by the boy's appearance. But she could also see that he wanted to help the other blonde. She thought about the situation for a few seconds. While it was true that his appearance was a huge curveball, this was also a good opportunity to grab a new peerage member. Another opportunity to boost her peerage, for that was one she would take advantage of. With those thoughts in mind, her decision was made. It seems we have quite the predicament on our hands. In any case, we'll lend a hand to Uzumaki-san. Rias said as she flew out to confront the plant. When she got close enough, she created a magic circle and blasted at the plant. Don't let your guard down. Commence attack. But those words, her peerage sprang into action as Akeno's clothes disappeared, leaving her naked for a few brief seconds before changing into a Maiko outfit with a white top and red bottom. I'll kick its ass. Kaneko said as she put a fist in her hands and charged at the plant. Alright, here it goes. Boosted gear. Issei yelled as he stood in front of Asia and activated his sacred gear. Kiba, however, instead of charging at the plant, he charged at the tentacles holding Naruto and cut him free. Naruto landed on his feet when he was cut free from the plant monster. What are you doing here? Naruto asked the sword-wielding blonde. I could ask you the same thing, Naruto-san. Kiba said as he swung his sword to cut more of the vines coming at them. At the same time, Naruto threw some shuriken at the tentacles surrounding them. The plant dragon hybrid roared and sent even more tentacles at them, forcing the two to separate. Rias shot another blast of destruction at the plant's tentacles, destroying them. However, every piece of the plant she destroyed just grew right back. She also watched the same thing happen with the rest of her peerage. There's no end to these things. Issei said. It's recovering faster than we can damage it. It seems its full potential has been brought out. The air and soil of the human world and the life energy from the students provides optimal conditions for it, Rias noted. Naruto raised an eyebrow after hearing her words. Human world. But before he could dig deeper into her words, more tentacles came flying at him, but once again he cut them into pieces. While he was tempted to just use a Rasengan and end this battle, he knew that a ninja's greatest strength was information. So he didn't want to use his attacks in case these guys turned out to be enemies, and he only knew Kiba, but that didn't mean he trusted him, nor were they friends. Asia watched the battle with concern for everyone, even Naruto. I hope everyone will be okay. Then the ground beneath her started to crack. Then suddenly tentacles bursted from the ground and wrapped around her. Kaya. Asia. Issei screamed, but when he tried to help her, Rias, Akeno and Kaneko got wrapped up in the tentacles as well. But what is this? Rias exclaimed. This sucks. Kaneko said. These tentacles are perverted. Akeno chimed in. Even Akeno-san and Kaneko-chan are tied up, Issei exclaimed. Issei-kun, at this rate we can't attack recklessly. Kiba told him. Naruto watched this unfold with increasing confusion as he scratched his head. What the hell is it doing? His confusion grew even more as the tentacles that were latched onto the ladies' chests began to melt their clothes. This has become quite the problem. Akeno said with a light blush on her face. I don't like this slimy stuff. Kaneko said with a bored tone. Slippery slimy stuff is eating away my clothes. Asia exclaimed. The slippery, slimy fluid seems to melt our clothes. Rias said. Naruto's sweat dropped at the events currently happening in front of his eyes. I just had to follow those girls here. At this rate everyone will become naked. Issei said with a very perverted face. This is a really big deal. Blood started to fall down from his nose as his perverted grin got even bigger. You're terrible. Kaneko told him. Issei, don't just stand there, you fight too. Rias reprimanded him. Hiba noticing Naruto's increasing confusion of everything gave a sheepish laugh. Sorry Naruto-san, it's a long story. Instead of receiving a response from him, Naruto just looked at him with a face that Kiba couldn't read. I knew there was something off about these guys. I really gotta start listening to myself more. Naruto thought before looking back at the plant. After studying it for a few seconds Naruto noticed the giant gem in the middle of it. That big gem can't just be for show. Truth be told he didn't know how he was just now noticing the gem as it was literally in the middle of it. Maybe it was because he was too focused on the chaos going around him. His thoughts were interrupted when the plant dropped two of the girls. Naruto being who he is, though scarred, leapt to catch the white-haired girl while the brown-haired one caught the blonde-haired girl. When he set her down he gave her a brief nod before leaving. Rias watched the interaction with interest though she couldn't dwell on it much as she squealed as the plant latched onto her chest again. Kaya. Wow, this is such a wonderful such a fearsome attack. Issei cried out with admiration in his eyes. It attaches itself to women's and sucks their life energy from them. Naruto nearly fell to the ground when he heard those words. That's what that plant does. Man, what kind of place did that rip in space send him to? But why a woman's chest? Asked Kiba. Don't ask the obvious, pretty boy. I too would love to glue myself to Butchu and Akeno-sans and suck out their life energy. Issei yelled with no shame whatsoever. Don't sympathize with the monster, Issei-kun. Asia cried out. I'm not sympathizing. I'm burning with jealousy right now, you damned chimera. Naruto had to give the kid credit, either he was really stupid or had balls of steel to say that in front of the girls currently in question. He was 1000% sure if he had said anything even remotely close to that back home, Sakura would bury him alive, dig him up and kill him, then re-bury him. That's not good either, Issei-kun. Asia cried out once again. Don't just stand there, do something. Rias cried out. Her request for them to do something was granted as Naruto, who was getting tired of seeing and hearing what was going on, ran and leapt high enough for him to kick the monster straight in the gem, which made it roar in pain as it let go of both Akeno and Rias. This display absolutely stunned the entire Gremory peerage as a feat like that should not be possible. For a human at least. Over by Naruto, he noticed as he came back down that a crack appeared in the giant purple gem. I was right, it wasn't just for show, nice job Naruto. He patted himself on the back. His actions also served to make the monster angry as its eyes turned red and it sent a crap ton of tentacles and vines at him. Naruto expertly dodged and outran everything the monster threw at him. Even if he might be rusty, something like this he could take in his sleep. The crack that appeared in the gem didn't go amiss by Rias as she took advantage of the opportunity that Naruto unintentionally gave them. Its weak point is the gem, commence attack. Rias created a magic circle and shot her powers of destruction at the gem. When she hit her mark another crack appeared in the gem. The rest of her peerage followed suit as Kaneko charged the plant once again, but this time she dodged the tentacles thrown at her and landed a hard punch on the gem. Crack. Alright Butchu, dragon. Issei yelled. Boost. He then punched the monster in the gem. While it was nowhere near as hard as Kaneko's punch, it was still enough to damage it. Akeno, like her king, created a magic circle and threw lightning at the monster. Another crack. Kiba, being the only one with a sword, ran around the battlefield cutting down the tentacles that got too close to them. Naruto was doing the same thing as Kiba was doing with his kunai. By the time everyone was done with their onslaught there were a lot of cracks in the gem. On top of that the chimera has gotten considerably weaker. Naruto watched as the Redeed powered up for one final attack. Heckmate was all Rias said before launching her power at the chimera, destroying it completely. It's over. Okay, let's head back. She said as she looked over at her peerage. I'd like to thank you for your help Uzumaki-san. Rias looked back to where Naruto was standing only to see that he was gone. All that remained of his presence there was the shurikens that were thrown. Rias walked over to a tree and took the shurikens out of the tree and put them in her pocket before walking back to her peerage. Yudo, bring him to the clubroom tomorrow. Yes Butchu, her knight said, and with those final words the Gremory peerage left the forest. A few minutes later, Naruto was walking back to his apartment mulling over the recent events. Guess this place isn't as weird as I thought. If he had to be honest with himself he felt good as he hadn't been able to fight anything in a year, it was refreshing. At least now he knew what was really going on in this place. But that also meant that group would want to keep him close. Which also meant he would be seeing a lot more of Kiba and his friends than he wanted to, so in short, his life just got more complicated than it already was. Great, the Uzumaki luck strikes once again. The next day after class Naruto had his head down trying to go to sleep until Kiba tapped him on his shoulder. Naruto looked up at him with a drowsy look. Can I help you, Kiba? Would you mind coming with me? Butchu wants to meet you. Kiba asked him. Already, huh? Naruto thought. He knew that those guys were gonna keep an eye on him, but they already wanna meet him. And if I say no? At his words Kiba just shrugged his shoulders. Naruto sighed before getting out of his seat. Fine, might as well see what she wants. The redhead is who you're talking about, right? Kiba nodded his head as they walked out of class. After a few minutes of walking they left the main school building and were now walking towards the large building outside of the school. It's a school building. Kiba answered his question with a nod. Naruto and Kiba walked into the main room of the old school building and were met with an extravagant interior design. Although the room was very dim. On one couch was the white-haired girl eating some chocolate and on the other was the brown-haired pervert in Asia. Finally in the center of the room you have Rias standing in front of her desk with a kendo behind her. The white-haired girl and his eyes locked for a few seconds. To Naruto it looked like she was searching for something, though he couldn't really tell because her face had a blank look. That's Taoju Kaneko, a first year. Kiba told him Kaneko-chan, this is Uzumaki. Naruto, the now named Kaneko, nodded her head at him, to which he replied with a yo. Over there is Haidu. Issei just gave him a glare then turned away. That did not go unnoticed by Kiba, but he continued nevertheless. Next to him is Argento Asia. I believe you two have met before, correct? Yeah, we've met before. Naruto said. It's nice to see you again, Naruto-san. Asia said with a smile. Though she didn't get a verbal response from him, he did nod his head. Though this did get him another glare from Issei. Now that the introductions are over, first and foremost, welcome to the Occult Research Club. Do you mind if I call you Naruto? Rias was sitting at her desk in the clubroom going over some documents that had recently come in when a hot cup of tea was placed by her side. She put the papers down to take a sip of the tea. Thank you, Akeno. Akeno bowed her head, then put the tea tray to the side. She looked back at her best friend and saw that she had this far-off look. A teasing smile came across her face when she saw this. Ara can't keep Naruto-san off your mind, Butchu. Her words had the desired effect as Ria's mind came back to earth as she sent her a mock glare. Akeno just giggled at this. Ara Butchu, does his refusal to join bother you that much? It's not his refusal that's bothering me that much. Well, she didn't expect him to refuse her, it was his lack of reaction to everything he was being told that threw her off. It was the same thing with the Chimera. It was clear that he also knew nothing of devils, angels, or fallen angels. Not only that, the feat of strength he displayed when he freed them should be impossible for a human, even those aware of the supernatural. Rias put a hand on her head and sighed, he didn't even join yet and he's already troublesome. Akeno's head perked up at this before Rias gave her a smile. You didn't think I was gonna take no for an answer, did you? I'm just going to try harder to convince him. I guess it isn't like you to give up so easily. But you also seem quite committed to Naruto-san joining. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Rias, you. Well, it's not a bad thing to have my best friend worry over me, but this is my own problem. Also, in the club room, it's Butchu, right? After a second or two Akeno nodded her head. Yes, Butchu. Akeno then bowed her head. Well then, I'll be off. Akeno walked out of the room leaving her king to her thoughts. Naruto was relaxing by his favorite tree enjoying the quiet atmosphere. Well, he should be in class right now, well he is technically. He has said it once and he'll say it 1,000 times more. God, he loves shadow clones. His mind then drifted off to what he had been told yesterday. His meeting with Rias and her peerage did help him confirm his theory that he was not in his homeworld. As much as he hated it he had to accept it. Flashback. Devils have been fighting their biblical counterparts, the angels and fallen angels, for quite some time now. This conflict is known as the Great War. The conflict has only recently been called off in a ceasefire. The Devil's population has decreased due to the many years of fighting. This problem has only recently been solved by the introduction of the evil P system, Rias told him, eyeing Naruto for any signs of interest. Naruto raised his eyebrow as he soaked in this information. Confirming that Naruto wasn't going to say anything, Rias continued her explanation. The evil P system is what created the concept known as a peerage. A peerage is a term used to describe those who are made a subordinate to a king. Naruto tensed when he heard this. He didn't particularly like the idea of servitude. A subordinate. Peerage. Why is she telling me all of this? Wait, is she? He thought. As you can see, the people around you are devils as well as members of my peerage. When Naruto looked around, each of the members sprouted their wings. Unlike other masters, however, I see my peerage as my family and friends and I treasure them no matter what. So that's what she's trying to do. Naruto thought before he stood up and headed for the door. This caught everyone's attention. I appreciate the offer, but no, I'm not interested. When he got to the door he turned around to meet the eyes of the crimson-haired beauty. I'll tell you like I told Kiba, I'm not looking for friends or comrades. I just want to be left alone. I won't tell anyone about what I've been told here, you have my word. Rias tried to stop him, but Naruto already walked out the door. Flashback end, me a devil. No way, I still have to get home, there's no way I'm gonna serve someone I don't even know. But what if I don't ever get home? What if I'm stuck here forever? What if Naruto stopped his mind from going any deeper? With his mood ruined as well as the quiet atmosphere with the students coming out of class, Naruto got up to leave the school campus, leaving his shadow clone to finish the rest of the day. The sun was beginning to set as Kaneko was walking through the town to her favorite sweet shop when she caught the scent of something good, too good to be ignored. She has been smelling the scent a lot lately, the scent of ramen. Taking a guess to who this scent could most likely belong to, she followed her nose. After a few minutes of walking she found what she was looking for when she came across a shop that says Naruto's Ramen. She noticed that it just closed. Naruto came walking out of the shop looking lost in thought. Just as Butchu wanted him to join for her reasons, Kaneko had her own. When he came to the clubroom she saw the dull look in his eyes. He did such a good job at hiding it that she almost didn't see it, but she saw the hidden pain. The loneliness. So she decided to follow him. Naruto opened the door to his apartment. I'm home. Once again there was no response. Naruto closed his door and threw his keys on his counter before slumping down on his couch. Naruto sighed as he put his face in his hands. What do I do now? Before his mind could come up with an answer someone knocked on his door. Weird, no one's actually visited him before, he wasn't sure if he had any neighbors, so who the hell could be visiting him? When he opened his door he didn't know what to expect, but it definitely wasn't Kaneko standing at his door. Okay, how, and did she send you? No, found your shop, followed you. Kaneko said. Naruto sweat dropped at the way she said that with a straight face. Naruto sighed before opening the door some more to let her in. Care to tell me why you're here? Kaneko took a second to look around his apartment. It was small, very small. There was nothing but the standard stuff you'd find in a house. I want you to stay with she started, but never got to finish as Naruto cut her off. No, I already told you guys I'm not becoming a devil. Then join the club at least, I'm sure there's something that we have that can change your mind. Kaneko retorted. Naruto's eyes narrowed, what part of leave me alone didn't you guys understand? I said no and that's that. Truth be told he hated being mean to people, especially when they're only trying to be nice, but he couldn't afford having attachments in this world, they would only hinder him from his end goal. Man, his younger self would be so disappointed. Besides, I'm not someone you want to hang around. Even if they weren't normal, well at least not this world's definition of normal. He was still a Jinchuriki and people from his world hated them, there's no telling how people would react here. I'll tell you one more time, I'm not looking for friends, I just want to be alone. Seeing as she wasn't getting through to him, Kaneko decided she overstayed her welcome as she headed for the door. When she was about to grab the doorknob Naruto's voice stopped her. Wait. Kaneko turned around to face him. To her confusion Naruto started looking around his apartment before grabbing a blank card to write something on it. He walked up to her and handed her the card. Naruto's free ramen pass for life is what the card said on it. Kaneko looked up at him with a raised eyebrow. A deal, if you don't tell Rias where I live you can have that. Kaneko looked at him with a blank look. Naruto sighed Fian, and I'll consider joining your club. Happy? She still had that blank look on her face, but nodded her acceptance of the deal. Good night Naruto-senpai. Kaneko said before walking out of his apartment. Why had he made that deal with the cute girl? It was simple really, he had no doubt that if he had let her walk out that door, that she would definitely tell Rias where he lived and bam, there goes his safe haven. On top of that he still upholds his end of the bargain about the club, he'll think about it and still say no. With this deal he shuts down any opportunity Rias may latch onto. It was a good idea in his opinion. It would not occur to him until later that he had just made a deal with a devil, a very cute devil, but a devil nonetheless. The next day Naruto was making his way to his shop to get some work done. Today was Friday so he thought he could take the day off from school. And by that he meant sending a shadow clone in his place. He walked into his shop and passed by the sitting Rias and Akeno as he put on his apron to open up. What the hell? Asked by Rias and Akeno. Naruto's mind and body did a double take as he turned around to face the two beauties, confusion clear on his face. Ara, surprised to see us Naruto-san. Akeno said with a smile. Good morning Naruto. Rias said. Though it was obvious Naruto was not pleased to see them judging by his eyebrow twitching constantly. How did you two find me? Naruto said through gritted teeth. No way Kaneko just ratted him out immediately like that, he even gave her a free ramen pass. Akeno just gave him a teasing smile. Well your name was on the sign fish cake-san. Her words did as intended and irritated Naruto even further as a vein started showing on his forehead. Naruto took a breath to compose himself before asking again. Okay, how did you find my shop? Naruto asked. Rias watched the interaction with amusement before answering his question. Why, my precious servant was walking around town and stumbled upon your shop and came back and told me all about your deal. Rias then gave him a smug smirk. Tell me Naruto, have you ever heard the phrase never make a deal with the devil? Naruto lifted an eyebrow in confusion at her words after a few seconds passed by before the realization finally hit him. Naruto really wanted to smack himself right now. He wasn't specific enough about the deal. Of course she would exploit the loophole in it, she is a devil after all. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the two girls. Shouldn't you girls be at school right now? Class doesn't start until a few minutes, so we have some time. Rias retorted. Great, now that these two are here there's no way he'd be able to skip school, what a drag. Naruto just sighed as he sat down in the seat across from them. He's been doing that a lot lately now that he thought about it. Look, I already said I'm not joining your peerage, so why are you here? Kaneko said you'd consider joining our club. I just thought I'd give you reasons to stay. Kiba and Kaneko want you to join. Rias told him. Issei doesn't seem to like you too much though. Akeno chimed in. I've noticed. Naruto said. I'm not sure why you guys are so dead set on getting me to join you, I'm not exactly the best person to hang around. That's not what the students think. You have built up a reputation, you know. Rias said. The only reason I have a reputation is because Kiba doesn't leave me alone, much like you guys. Rias shrugged off his comment before her and Akeno got up and started walking out of his shop. She stopped to look back at Naruto. You coming? What, to school? No. Okay. But you will have to explain to Sauna why you weren't at school today. Rias said. Sauna? The student council girl. Yep, and she takes her job quite seriously. Akeno said. Naruto groaned before getting out of his seat to follow the two girls. These two girls were irritatingly stubborn. Was this how his classmates felt about him back then? Cause if so, he was starting to understand how they felt. It took a couple of minutes, but the trio finally made it to their school. While he really wanted to ditch them on the way here, there was no doubt that one of the two girls would see his clone, and then there would be questions from the redeed. A lot of the students saw the trio walking together, and of course there was gossip, much to Naruto's growing irritation. Naruto-senpai knows big sister Rias. Hiba-kun must have introduced them to each other, they are the golden boys after all. Rias-senpai always gets the cute boys first. Hiba-kun now Naruto-senpai, it's not fair. Akeno giggled at the rumors. Ara, these students sure do love to gossip. Rias stopped walking to look at Naruto. You remember where the club is, correct? When Naruto nodded at her words she smiled. Then I guess we'll see you later, Naruto. She walked away from him with Akeno in tow. Akeno waved at him while walking by. Fishcake-san. Stop calling me that. Akeno-senpai already has a nickname for him. Naruto groaned before walking to find his clone to unfortunately swap places with him. He just had to make a deal with the cute girl. Naruto was seen at the occult research building glaring at the door as if it offended him somehow. Naruto then grabbed the door handle and walked into the school building. The first one to greet him was Kiba. Naruto. I thought you said no about joining us. I did, I wouldn't be here if Rias and Akeno didn't show up at my shop. Naruto said while staring at Kaneko. His pointed stare had zero effect as Kaneko kept munching on chocolate. You made the deal. Was all she said. He was really starting to regret striking that deal with her. It's good to see you actually came, Naruto. Rias said. Don't get your hopes up yet, I still haven't made a decision. Even so I think it's best you learn a little bit about devilhood should you change your mind. She was pleased that Naruto didn't make a statement about him not changing his mind. Maybe she was getting through to him. The others are out doing requests right now so they won't be back till later. So for now follow me, Naruto, Rias said as she walked away. What are you doing? Naruto asked. To give you a tour of the place, of course. Rias said while continuing to walk while Naruto followed behind her. It was quiet for a few seconds before Kiba spoke. So how did you find Naruto? He has a ramen shop. He smells like ramen, a fox and a toad. It's weird. We talked and made a deal. Kiba let out a chuckle. Shouldn't have done that. Though it makes me wonder why he doesn't want friends so badly. Me too, Kiba-senpai. Kiba nodded at her words. Naruto sure is a complicated dude, but he was sure they would understand him in time. Rias and Naruto were walking through one of the hallways of the building in silence. Naruto was looking out of the window when Rias suddenly spoke. Can I ask you something, Naruto? Rias asked. Depends on your question, but go ahead. Why exactly did you refuse my offer? You didn't even let me finish what I had to say. Did she say something wrong in her speech to him? She tried her best to ease him into what she was offering. Or was nothing about her offer pleasing to him? I guess I can answer that. I'm not too fond of the idea of serving someone, and while you did say that you weren't like other people, I can't trust what you say. To give up my freedom to someone I don't know, that's something I can't do. That was half true. The other half was that he's from another world and has to get home, but she didn't need to know that. He did bring up some good points, but still, then stay with us, let us get to know you, and I'm sure we can become friends. When people join me they become a part of my family, and I want you to be a part of that family. And like I told you before, I'm not looking for friends or family, I just want to be left alone. Everyone could use someone, Naruto. Rias told him. It was silent for a few minutes before Naruto spoke again. Why me? Rias tilted her head at the question. Out of all the people you could have chosen, why me? Rias took a few seconds to think about her answer. Well, when you came into the school you basically went undetected, so we thought you were a threat. You didn't even take the entrance exam for the school. But when I saw you in the hallway, I saw something in your eyes. You seem like you've been through a lot. I'm sorry if I gave you that impression, but I'm fine, you don't need to waste your resources on me. Maybe, but what also intrigued me was your display of strength with the Chimera. Chimera? The plant monster. What you did when you freed me and Akeno should have been impossible for a human, but you're clearly human, and one without a sacred gear at that. Shit, she got him there. I won't press you for answers, but I would like to become friends with you, Naruto. I don't know if that's possible. When he saw the look of disappointment in Ria's eyes, he felt a little bad. They were just trying to help him. If it makes you feel any better, I appreciate that you asked me to join you instead of forcing or manipulating me. His words seemed to cheer her up, if even a little bit. The rest of the walk was in a semi-comfortable silence. Soon after the tour was over and Naruto was getting ready to leave, when he got to the door Ria's voice stopped him. Could you at least visit the club room from time to time? Instead of voicing his answer, Naruto simply nodded and walked out the door. When he left, Akeno spoke up. He is quite the stubborn one. Yes he is, but that will make him joining all the more sweeter. Rias responded. She was determined to make Naruto a part of her family, she only hoped that she would be able to convince him before he came. But for now she had two cute servants to tend to. It was a couple of hours later when Naruto was walking through the town in the direction of his apartment when he bumped into someone. When he looked down he saw a head of blonde hair and a female Kuo Academy outfit, but with a black sweater vest. The girl got up to apologize when she recognized him. I'm sorry I wasn't Naruto-san. Asia questioned. Hey, he responded. What are you doing here? Asia asked shyly. I'm going back to my apartment, you? Well, I was going to the store for some food for Issei-san, but at the mention of food Asia's stomach started to rumble a bit. She blushed and looked away in embarrassment. Naruto didn't know whether how embarrassed she looked or how she reminded him of Hinata that compelled him to do this, but he guessed he would never know. Hungry? When she nodded her head shyly, Naruto turned around and walked into the direction of his shop. Come on. Asia stood there for a few seconds following him. After a few minutes of walking the duo made it to his shop. Naruto walked into his shop and turned on the stove before getting out the ingredients for his ramen to make two bowls while Asia sat down. After a few minutes Naruto placed the two bowls while he sat down across from her. Asia clapped her hands together and started to pray. Dear Lord, I come to thank you. She exclaimed as she grabbed her head in pain. You alright? Naruto asked. He was getting confused. What just happened? I'm fine. I forgot devils can't pray to God. Asia said while shaking her head. If it hurts you, why do you pray? Well, I used to be a nun before I became a devil. Oh. Asia looked down at her food before talking. Well, I'm a little sad I can't pray anymore, I'm satisfied with being a devil. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her words. What about your freedom? Don't you care about that? Without Issei-san and the others I wouldn't be here today, and they have shown me nothing but kindness. She said with a smile. I was alone before I met Issei-san and he became my first friend. I know you said no earlier, but please give us a chance, Naruto-san. Naruto didn't respond to her words as he started eating. Eat up, your food's getting cold. Asia nodded her head before eating her food. After they finished eating, Asia bowed her head. Thank you, Naruto-san. Naruto waved off her thanks as he started to stack up the bowls and take them to the dishwasher. Don't you have your friend to get back to? Don't want to keep him waiting, right? At his words Asia started to panic a little and she rushed to exit. Naruto smiled a little bit at this. Yeah, she definitely reminded him of a young Hinata. His smile faltered when he thought about what Rias told him. Family. Friends. Lord only knew how good that sounded, but to him the Leaf Village was his home, he was born and raised there. On top of that he had put so much time and effort to try and change people's opinions on him there, and he still wasn't sure what they thought of him now. He also couldn't abandon his friends, he had yet to fulfill his promise to Sakura. There's no way he could leave all that. He was gonna keep up his end of the bargain while also refusing and then get back to searching for ways back home double time. He was getting home. That's all there is to it. Don't hang around that kid. Stay away from him. You're not welcome here. Get out of here, you monster. Villagers screaming at a young Naruto from all sides. Naruto dropped down to his knees and covered his ears. Please, stop. You don't belong here. You'll never be a leaf ninja, let alone the Hokage. Just get out of here already. Make it stop. Naruto screamed. At his words a flash of white appeared before him, next thing he knew everything was silent. When Naruto opened his eyes he found himself at a setting where two stone statues facing each other with a large waterfall between them. Naruto looked down to find himself being jacked up by someone with a lightning-filled hand. This person was his former teammate and his former best friend. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto, you pathetic loser, you don't have what it takes to beat me, and you wanna know something? You never will. Sasuke screamed as he moved to plunge his Chidori into Naruto's chest, but before it could land Naruto's vision was clouded once again in white. When he opened his eyes again he found himself back in the hidden leaf, but it was destroyed and people were dead. When he looked around he saw everyone he cared about laid on the ground in their own pools of blood. Sakura. No answer. Naruto looked around once more. Kakashi-sensei. Once again no answer. What's going on? Naruto looked around one more time, only to look on in horror to see the girl that sacrificed herself for him. Hinata. Naruto tried to run to her, but he felt himself pinned down by a black rod. Naruto tried to free himself, but no matter how hard he tried the rod just wouldn't budge. What's happening here? Do you hate me now? A voice said. Naruto looked up to see the leader of the Akatsuki staring down at him. Pain. Naruto hissed. What will you do now? All you held dear is gone. Your home, your friends, and even your sensei. Do you understand pain now, Nine Tails? Naruto gritted his teeth. Bastard. What did you do? It's not what I did, Nine Tails. It's what you did. What are you talking about? Their deaths are on your hands, Nine Tails. They are in this situation because they are protecting you. If you weren't in this village I wouldn't have attacked and they would still be alive. No, you're lying, you're just talking nonsense. Shut the hell up. Seems like you still don't understand very well. Pain then took a black rod and prepared to stab Naruto with it. No pain. He said before plunging the rod towards Naruto. Naruto tried moving again but was helpless as the rod held him firmly in place. No. Naruto jolted awake screaming. He held his head in his hand while taking heavy breaths to compose himself. It's just another nightmare. Naruto looked at his clock, he's only been asleep for a few hours, nowhere near time for school. Deciding he wasn't gonna get any more sleep, Naruto got up out of his bed to brush his teeth. I saved the village from the Akatsuki, I saved everyone, right? So then why does my mind show me that I didn't? Their deaths are on your hands, Nine Tails. They are in this situation because they are protecting you. If you weren't in this village I wouldn't have attacked and they would still be alive. Naruto replayed the words in his nightmare. Is he really a danger to his friends? I guess he was indirectly responsible, being a Jinchuriki and all. Naruto shook his head to clear his thoughts before finishing up in the bathroom. Naruto opened up his cabinet for something to eat. His cabinet was practically empty, much to his dismay. Damn, looks like I'm going hunting today. Naruto looked back at his calendar. His rent was due in a few weeks and he was also running low on ingredients for his ramen shop. Last time he checked he only had enough money for rent and ingredients, so food will have to wait. Great. Naruto sighed before grabbing his fishing rod and bait and heading out the door. It took a few minutes, but Naruto finally reached the spot he uses for fishing. He was surprised to see someone already sitting there. It was a man that looks like he's in his 20s with mostly black hair with his bangs being gold. He also had a goatee. Naruto decided to just ignore the man as he sat down and threw his fish hook into the water. It was silent for a little while until the man spoke up. Yo. Naruto looked up from the water to face the man. You come around here often? The man had asked him. Instead of giving a verbal answer, Naruto only shrugged his shoulders. Sometimes, huh? It's nice to have some company every once in a while, right? Naruto only nodded his head. Naruto was confused when the man started laughing out of nowhere. You don't talk much, do you, boy? Sometimes. Was Naruto's only reply. Oh, so you do talk. So what are you doing out here? Shouldn't that be obvious? I'm getting fish. Naruto was only further confused when the man started chuckling again. You're a funny one, boy. Huh? Anyway, since you don't come here often you picked a good spot for fishing. Not a lot of people come around here so there's plenty of fish. Naruto only nodded his head in response. The man didn't say anything else, so the duo sat in a comfortable silence. After a few hours the sun was up and Naruto was sitting in his shop, deciding to skip school altogether today. During his trip to the fishing spot he learned something about the man there. Apparently he was a researcher of some sorts. He didn't really go into detail about what he did research, so he's assuming it was something perverted. Before he could dwell further on the topic, two people came into his shop. Naruto groaned inwardly when he saw the two girls that have been constantly finding him for the past week. Rias Gremory and Kaneko Taoju. Rias waved at him when she saw him. Hey Naruto. Hello, Naruto-senpai. Kaneko said. Naruto nodded his head at the two girls in response. You didn't come to school today. Rias said. The way she said it was more of a question than a statement. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders. I didn't feel like coming today. Rias sighed at his words. Naruto, you can't just skip school just because you don't feel like coming. Whatever you say, Rias. He said. Naruto felt a tug on his sleeve before looking at Kaneko, who was showing him her free ramen pass. Understanding what she's asking, Naruto rolled his eyes before getting out of his seat to head to the kitchen. Rias tilted her head. A ramen pass. It was part of our deal, but you. I see, is the ramen good? Rias never really ate ramen as it was considered an unhealthy food, plus the chefs back home never cooked it either. I don't know but you, this is my first time trying it. Kaneko said while watching Naruto make her food in the kitchen. After a few minutes of silence, Naruto came back with the ramen in his hand. He placed a bowl in front of Kaneko. Thanks for the food. Kaneko said as she broke a pair of chopsticks in two and tried out the ramen. Her eyes widened a little bit and started to eat it at a faster rate. Naruto inwardly smirked at this. He then turned to Rias. Did you want a bowl, Rias? When she didn't answer, Naruto asked her again. Once again he received no answer. This caused Naruto's eyebrow to start twitching as he then started snapping in her face. His snapping finally caught Ria's attention as she looked at him. Huh? Sorry Naruto, what did you say? Naruto raised his eyebrow at her. I asked if you wanted a bowl like twice already. Rias nodded her head at him in response. Already finished with her bowl, Kaneko sat her bowl down and looked at her president in concern. But you. Are you alright? Rias looked at her rook and nodded her head. I'm fine, just thinking about things. Kaneko nodded her head and decided not to push the issue. Naruto soon came back with another bowl of ramen and gave it to Rias. Kaneko then handed her bowl back to Naruto asking for seconds. Naruto gave her a surprised look. You're finished already. I just gave you that 2 seconds ago. Wow, she ate that faster than he ever did. It was good. Kaneko said. Naruto groaned before taking her bowl out of her hands and walking back to the kitchen. At the rate she just finished her first bowl, Naruto was already regretting giving her that free pass. Rias giggled a little bit at the interaction. Is it really that good? Kaneko nodded her head before answering. Very good. Taking her word for it, Rias broke her chopsticks apart and tried the ramen. Her eyes widened when she finished tasting it. Wow, it really is good. Kaneko just nodded her head in agreement. A couple of minutes later the duo finished their food. As they set their chopsticks down, Rias spoke to Naruto. You are coming by the clubroom later, right? Naruto frowned at her words. Do I have to? No, but we would appreciate you stopping by. You still have yet to give us an answer, you know. Instead of giving her a verbal answer, Naruto just sighed and nodded his head slowly. Rias then smiled at Naruto before paying for her ramen. The duo got up to leave. Thanks for the food, Naruto. Rias said while waving at him. Aye, Naruto-senpai. Kaneko said before leaving with Rias. Naruto gave them a lazy wave. Once the girls were far enough away, Naruto sighed before slamming his head on the table. Naruto was feeling conflicted right now. He did say that he had no interest in joining Ria's peerage, and he meant it, but he couldn't say the same about joining the occult research club. He was starting to not mind the group's company anymore. Rias and the others seemed like they really wanted him to join. Rias and Kaneko certainly have been trying their best to convince him this past week. The others also tried to convince him, with the exception of Issei, but not as much as those two were, and despite what he told himself, these guys were starting to grow on him. If he was being honest with himself, he was getting tired of being alone again. And he wasn't sure if he hated that fact or not. Issei was riding his bike to one of his summons when his mind started to drift off. He didn't understand why Butchu could want someone like that blonde bastard on her peerage. Okay, so maybe he didn't like the guy because he was being mean to Asia. I mean, come on, how can you be mean to Asia of all people? She's the sweetest girl Issei ever met, and he didn't even apologize. But then again, he hasn't really hung around the man, so maybe he had a reason to be mean to her. Asia did tell him about what he did for her a week ago, so maybe there was someone nice under that cold demeanor. On a different note, Butchu seems to be out of it lately. She's been spacing out more often as well as starting to train him and Asia, for what? Issei did not know, but if he had to become stronger for his journey to become the harem king, he would not complain. When Issei got to the address of the person who summoned him, Issei knocked on the door. Issei didn't know what to expect when that door opened, but it definitely was not a big burly dude in a magical girl outfit. Issei took a step back to look up at the man. Girl. He didn't really know. Did you summon a member of the Gremory household? Correct, Nio, I have a wish, Nio. And that would be? Issei said with fear creeping up into his voice. Make me into a magical girl, Nio. Issei's sweat dropped. Why, oh, why did he get the weird one? Rias was just about to explain the importance of a familiar to Issei and Asia when Naruto walked into the clubroom. Only giving the group a nod, Naruto went into one of the corners of the room. While she was still a little disappointed Naruto was distancing himself, she was glad he came all the same. Fish cake-san, are you that scared of us? Akeno teased. Her teasing had hit its mark as Naruto scowled at her, though before he could retort, Rias intervened. Leave him alone, Akeno. Akeno just giggled, which caused Naruto to grumble even more. As I was saying, having a familiar is a fundamental part about being a devil. They're used to help their master as well as relay information even in pursuit. Rias said while looking at Issei, Asia and Naruto. Truth be told, Naruto shouldn't even be hearing this as he was still human. But she was letting him stay for this conversation so that she wouldn't have to explain it again should he change his mind about joining her peerage. So in short they're like summons. Naruto thought. After Rias had finished speaking she summoned her familiar. In a small white cloud a bat appeared flying above Rias' hand. This is my familiar. Issei, you've met her before, correct? Issei took a few seconds to recall his memory, but when he came up blank he shrugged his shoulders. His memory was then jogged when the bat transformed into a young lady with brown hair that stood out at the sides and a red dress. Issei snapped his fingers. Now I remember, she was the one who gave me that flyer. Rias nodded her head. That's right Issei, I sent her to give you that flyer. Akeno then summoned her familiar, which was Green Imp. Kaneko followed suit as a white cat appeared in her arms. Here's Shiro. What happened next was something no one in the room was expecting. All the familiars started shaking in fear as Ria's familiar reverted back to her bat form and hid behind her. Akeno's imp hid behind her leg, while Shiro buried itself into Kaneko's arms. Never has this happened before. Confusion was radiating from every member as they tried to figure out just what the familiars were afraid of. Questions started forming in each of the members' minds when Ria scanned the room. When she turned in Naruto's direction the familiars started to shake even more. This did not go unnoticed by either Naruto or Rias, but before she could ask questions the clubroom door was knocked on. The members sent their familiars away before Akeno answered the door. So even here nothing has changed. Naruto thought as Sona and the rest of the student council came into the room. Excuse us. Sona said. Hey wait a minute isn't that? Issei started but never finished. Who might that be? Asia asked. That's Shitori Sauna, president of the student council. Beside her is the vice president Shinra Tsubaki. As a matter of fact every member of the student council is here. Issei answered. Rias stepped forward to Sona, the recent incident momentarily forgotten. What brings you all here? Both of us have just recently increased the numbers of our servants, so I thought we should exchange greetings again. Sona said. I knew it, so she was a devil as well. Naruto thought with narrowed eyes. Just how many devils were in this school? When Naruto found out about the supernatural he quickly connected that the strange feeling he got from this group and Sona's group was because they were devils as well, and this confirmed it. That's also another thing that had changed when Naruto came to this world. He started using his brain more. Well he was sure Bachan, Kakashi-sensei, and Iro-Senin would be proud of him, he hated it as he was more of an action type of guy. The thinking part was more of Shikamaru's thing. Wait, you mean she's a devil too? Issei asked, though now that he thought about it, he did hear Butchu saying something about her a while ago. The lady's real name is Sona Citri. She is the next head of the Satiri, an upper-class devil family. Akeno answered. So there are other devils at this school? Issei asked. At his words the only male of Sona's group started to smirk. Ria-senpai, you didn't tell him about us. Saji, we do not interfere with each other's affairs. It's only natural he wouldn't know about us. Sona reprimanded him. You're the guy who recently became a student council member, what was your name? Sanjijin Shiro, pawn. Sona answered. Rias held her hand to her side to introduce her two new members. My pawn, Haidu Issei, and my bishop, Asia Argento. Sona raised an eyebrow. No third? She asked. Rias gave out a slightly annoyed sigh. He's still a work in progress. Naruto didn't know how to feel about being referred to as a work in progress, but he decided to keep quiet for now. At Ria's words Sona gave Rias a challenging smirk. So he's still up for grabs then? Kaichu, who's he? Saji asked. The school's newest student Naruto Uzumaki. Sona answered. Naruto's eyes narrowed even further. So they both were trying to get him huh? Then again he does remember that Saji guy saying something about the student council a while back, though he couldn't remember what. Rias had a slightly annoyed expression on her face. Still a little annoyed at Naruto's reluctance to join her. You can try if you want, but I doubt you'll get far with him. Akeno nodded her head to her king's statement. Fishcake-san is quite the stubborn one. Stop calling me that. Naruto said, finally making himself known to Sona's peerage. It was clear by the surprise on Sona and her peerage's faces that they did not know he was there. Well at least he knows he hasn't gotten rusty when it comes to his stealth. Gathering his composure Naruto stepped out of the corner and greeted the Citri peerage with only a nod of his head. Sona's eyes locked onto Rias. Rias, if he isn't a part of your peerage he shouldn't be here. Rias however waved off her concern. Naruto is a special case. When Sona raised her eyebrow Rias said she would explain later. I see, in that case, Saji. Sona said. Saji nodded his head and went to greet Issei and Asia. It's a pleasure to meet you, Saji-san. Asia said while shaking his hand. Saji eagerly returned her handshake with a smile on his face. The pleasure is all mine, it is very nice to meet a girl like you. This caused Issei to jump in and start to crush Saji's hand. The two presidents just sighed and apologized to one another. The next day Naruto was sitting on a bench in the park watching a family of 3 stroll by. The little girl noticed him and waved at him with a big smile on her face. Naruto put on a fake smile and waved back at the little one. His actions seemed to please the little girl as her smile got even bigger, while the parents smiled softly at their daughter. When the family walked past him, Naruto's smile dropped into a frown. Seeing the family brought back some thoughts he hadn't thought about in a while. Just how different would his life have been if he had parents? Would he be stuck in this world? Would he have had friends as a kid? Sure, meeting his dad was nice and all, but it didn't take away those thoughts. In fact, all it did was enhance them. He was so deep in thought that he didn't notice Kaneko sitting right next to him. When he finally noticed her, he nodded his head. How'd the match go? It was a draw, but you was a little annoyed that you didn't show. She didn't show it, but she was a little disappointed that he didn't show up to the match. Naruto scoffed. Rias is always annoyed when I don't do something. Besides, peerage matters do not concern me. We're having a dodgeball match to settle it at the gym tonight. Is this an invitation? When Kaneko nodded her head, Naruto groaned. From you or Rias? All of us, we want to be your friends, Naruto-senpai. And I've told you all time and time again that I don't need friends. The only reason I'm at the club was because I made that stupid deal. After a few moments of silence, Kaneko got up from her seat and started walking away. When she got a few steps away, she looked back at him to give him a nod. Goodbye, Naruto-senpai. She looked at him with eyes of understanding. Pity. Naruto did not know, but when she left, Naruto put his hands through his hair and sighed. He wasn't sure whether to punch himself or pat himself on the back. It's ironic when he thought about it. All his life he worked hard to gain friends, and now he was working hard to not have friends. Who saw that coming? Definitely not him. At night in the gym, the Gremory team was stretching for the match when Naruto walked in. When Rias saw him, she gave him a smile, to which Naruto rolled his eyes and went to an open space. Kaneko walked up to him. You came, she said. Naruto gave her a small nod. Yeah, but don't get your hopes up yet, I'm only spectating. That's good enough for now, Naruto. Rias said while walking up to them. Kaneko, can you help Issei stretch? Kaneko nodded and went to help Issei. I'm glad you came, Naruto. HMPH, you guys are very stubborn, you know that. Rias just let out a small chuckle. Rias looked at her peerage with warmth. Naruto watched as the warmth in her eyes faded into sadness. She looked to be lost in thought. Naruto gave her a few minutes to sort her thoughts before she spoke again. Naruto, can you answer something? Depends on what the question is, but shoot. How do you feel about being with the person you love? Naruto took a few seconds to think about his answer. I think being with the person you love is great. I mean, no one wants to be stuck with someone they don't like, right? Rias nodded her head at him. Thanks for answering, Naruto. Can I ask why you would ask me something like that? I'm sure you could have asked one of your friends. Rias looked at him with a look he really couldn't determine. It was something I was thinking about lately, and I wanted an outside opinion. Rias answered. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. He knew she was keeping information. He wouldn't be a good ninja if he didn't know when someone was lying or keeping information, but he knew it wasn't his place to pry. They weren't friends after all, so she had no reason to tell him. His younger self definitely would have butted his head into her problems though. A couple of minutes later, Issei called the group over to present the headbands he made. Each of the headbands had the words Occult Research Club written on them. I stayed up all night making them. You all have been trying so hard for Asia and I that I wanted to do something for you guys. These are great, Issei. Rias complimented. They are unexpectedly well made. Kaneko said. How gorgeous, Issei. Akeno complimented. While the other members were focused on Issei, Asia walked up to Naruto and handed him a headband. However, this headband was different from the others as the words on it said Honorary Occult Research Club member, and the headband was black. Naruto raised his eyebrow. What's this for? I'm not playing. Well, we ran out of white cloth, and even though you're not playing, why you have been visiting the club more. Issei-san helped me make it too. Asia said. Noticing that Naruto was hesitant to take the headband, Asia's eyes started to get a little watery as a thought came to her head. And Naruto-san, do you dislike us? Naruto's luck strikes again because of course that had to be the sentence everyone heard. Every member looked at him as he suddenly became the center of attention. I get that Issei-san doesn't like you very much, B, but I tried to convince him you're a good person. B, but you and Kaneko-chan have been trying their best to make you feel welcomed, and as Asia kept talking, Naruto inwardly started to panic, and so he thought fast. Asia's rambling stopped when she felt a hand on her shoulder. Listen, it's not that I hate you guys, it's just that Naruto took a few seconds to choose his words carefully. I'm not used to receiving gifts. His answer didn't seem to satisfy Asia, so he just sighed and let go of her shoulder. Fine, I'll take it. Asia smiled and handed him the headband before walking back to the peerage. Naruto took a few seconds to look at it. The headband really reminded him of the one he lost during his trip to this world. Naruto just shook his head before putting the headband in his pocket. The rest of the peerage smiled at the scene, glad he was starting to come around. A few minutes of stretching later Sona and her peerage came into the gym and the match was on. Sona was still a little hesitant about Naruto being there but was assured by Rias that he could handle it. A lot of magic enhanced throws later the game was in its later stages. Sona just threw the dodgeball at Issei. Issei tried to dodge the ball but it kept following him everywhere. Naruto was pretty sure a heat-seeking dodgeball was cheating even with this type of game. Naruto watched as the ball chasing Issei took a downward trajectory. Oh no, Naruto cringed when the ball slammed right into Issei's manhood. Issei squealed in pain as he fell over. Yeah, he was definitely out of this one. They may not be friends, but Naruto could wholeheartedly say he felt bad for the pervert. Getting hit and the ball sucked. Despite Issei's pain he managed to crawl towards Naruto and tag him in. "I will take back everything I said about you if you avenge me," he said. Naruto looked up at the rest of the members to see that they too wanted him to join. Naruto sighed before nodding reluctantly and taking off his blazer. So much for being a spectator. When he stepped on the floor he noticed that there was quite a few of Sona's peerage left. Naruto cracked his neck, knuckles and arms before getting into a ready stance. The whistle was blown and the game was back on. Citri-style backspin shot. Sona called out as she launched the ball straight at Naruto. "At again." Naruto thought as he started to run, just like before the ball started to follow him. Naruto skidded to a halt and ducked as he let the ball pass him. As expected the ball made a beeline for his back. "Naruto, that's the same move that hit Issei. Dodge it," Kiba warned him. Naruto however stood there in place. Rias was about to move to intercept the ball when Naruto turned around fast and caught the ball with one hand, stopping it in its tracks. Sona stared wide-eyed at Naruto. "Out." The referee called out. Naruto turned around to look at Sona's peerage and smirked. "I guess it's my turn." After the dodgeball game Naruto was in his apartment taking a shower. After the occult research club had won the game they went to celebrate before going to the familiar forest as Rias called it. They invited Naruto to celebrate, but he declined. His mind drifted back to what Rias had said and done before he left. Flashback. Rias took a step forward to Naruto. "It's a shame you won't celebrate with us so I'll just do this." Rias took another step forward and brought her arms around him. Naruto's whole body froze when she did this. "You didn't have to come and help us today, but you did and for that I thank you Naruto." Naruto didn't know how to react, he can't remember the last time he received a hug. At least not the one she was giving him. Was he blushing? Probably. Naruto slowly nodded his head. "You're welcome." When she let go it took him a couple of seconds to compose himself. He nodded his head at the rest of the members before parting ways. Flashback end. Rias had caught him off guard, way off guard, and she was acting a bit strange today as well. At the ramen shop and at the gym, the question she asked him was weird too. Naruto turned off the shower, stepped out of the small tub, and grabbed a towel to dry himself. Despite what he told himself, he found himself starting to worry about her. After thinking about today's events, Naruto shoved his head into his towel and groaned. He tried to deny it, but there was no denying it anymore. The Gremory peerage were slowly becoming his friends. Damn it, Sona watched as her friend rival made yet another mistake in their game of chess. Sona led Rias into a trap by moving one of her pawns. Rias took the pawn, but that's exactly what Sona wanted her to do. Check. Rias clicked her tongue when she realized she got caught in a trap. "What's on your mind Rias?" Rias looked up from the board at Sona with a questioning look. "You don't make this many mistakes when we play chess. You are also not focused." Having been caught, Rias just groaned and laid back in her chair. When she did this Sona raised an eyebrow. "I see, is it Uzumaki-san or him?" Rias just groaned again. "So it's both. I tried convincing him through the club, but he just won't budge." "Speaking of Uzumaki-san, you still haven't told me why you allowed him in your club despite him not being your servant," Sona said with narrowed eyes. "As I said before, Naruto is a special case. You remember the rumor about the Chimera, correct? It wasn't too long ago." When Sona nodded, Rias began telling the story of Naruto's unexpected appearance. When she finished with her tale Sona had a look on her face that said she didn't believe her. "I know it sounds absurd even for us, but it's true. Outside of the club I only see him at his shop," Rias said. "I see, Uzumaki-san seems to be quite the handful. But if he's good at avoiding you, how come you keep finding him?" "Well, Kaneko is the one who always finds him, I still haven't found any of his hiding places." There was a tiny bit of jealousy behind her words, but mostly she was happy that Kaneko found him to begin with. She figured that Naruto was skilled in stealth if she goes off of what happened with the Chimera and Sona's reaction to him revealing himself in the clubroom. Uzumaki-san seems to be quite the mystery. Rias nodded her head. "A mystery I plan to unravel." Naruto was a stubborn one she knew, but she wouldn't give up on him, no matter how many times he said no. She didn't know his story, but judging by what she saw in his eyes the day she walked past him and the melancholy look she often saw when he was with them, something had happened. Are you sure you should be focusing on him? I get that you want to strengthen your peerage, but you're running out of time. Rias closed her eyes to take a breath, then reopened them. Can I ask you a favor, Sona? When she nodded her head, Rias continued. I know this may seem greedy, but let me have Naruto. I know he's up for grabs and I don't know why, but I really feel like him becoming a part of my family would do him some good. Sona took a few minutes to mull over what her rival just asked of her. If what Rias told her about the Chimera was true, then she could lose out on another potential powerhouse. Then again, she has never seen her rival this determined to have someone in her peerage. Uzumaki-san must have really caught her eye. Fine, I'll step aside for now, but if you don't manage to convince him there are no complaints. Rias nodded her head in thanks. I owe you one, Sona. She said before leaving. Naruto was sitting at his tree as he thought about the way Rias had been acting this past week. Her spacing out, the way she looks at every couple that walks by her, as well as that question she asked him. Naruto then thought about a conversation he once had with his Bachan. Flashback, so why did you call me here, Bachan? A 13-year-old Naruto asked. In front of him was his closest thing to a mother figure. Sit down, Naruto. I have something to teach you, Tsunade said. Naruto sat down eagerly at the words teach. Ooh, what is it, a new jutsu? Are you gonna teach me how you have so much strength? Tell me, Bachan. Naruto said while bouncing in his seat. Tsunade smirked at his enthusiasm before walking behind her desk before pulling something out. Nope, neither of those things, Naruto. Tsunade then dropped whatever she was holding on her desk, creating a decently loud thud. She had great amusement watching the color drain from Naruto's face. Oh no, my worst nightmare. Naruto thought. He hasn't picked up one of these since he graduated from the academy. A stack of books. Bachan, why are you giving me a stack of books? Why, it's for you to stew. I refuse. Naruto said as he pushed the books towards Tsunade. Annoyed at being cut off, Tsunade rubbed her temples preparing for a headache. You need this, Naruto, trust me, I've seen your academic records from your time at the academy. Oh, I thought you were gonna teach me something cool like your freakish strength or how to get Iro-Senin out of the women's bathhouse, not a bunch of books. And a kid, you're gonna need to know what's in this stuff if you're gonna be Hokage. The second she finished her sentence, Naruto stopped complaining. Smirking, Tsunade continued. Now that you're on board, let's begin. Naruto reached out to grab the book. As he was reading the contents of the book, his face held a lot of confusion. Politics. Being Hokage is simply more than sitting at a desk all day, Naruto. There are other things you have to know about. Naruto titled his head in confusion. I don't follow, Bachan. How do you think we get our resources for the village? We get those resources by either our own supply or peace treaties with the other nations or small villages. She paused to see if Naruto was following her, and when he nodded his head she continued. Of course, prices also come with those peace treaties. For example, like I said before, we trade things like resources or set up arranged marriages. Wait, arranged marriage, I understand the whole trading bit, but arranged marriage? Tsunade nodded her head. That's stupid. Who would want to get married to someone they don't even know? I know it sounds cruel, but those are the types of things that come with being Hokage. Now I also want you to take these books with you on your training trip. Seeing the question in his eyes, she continued. Mental training is just as important as your physical training, Naruto. Cages are as strong as they are smart, you know. Naruto nodded his head and grabbed the rest of the books and began walking out of the Hokage's room. Though before he could walk out, he placed the books on the floor and went back to hug Tsunade. Tsunade was startled by his actions. Naruto, what are you doing? I wanted to say goodbye and to thank you for saving me back then. He said. Touched by his words, Tsunade rubbed his head with a small smile on her face. I'm back strong, okay, Naruto? Naruto lifted his head up and gave her a big smile. You got it, Bachan, I'll come back stronger than ever, believe it. Flashback end. Could Rias be in an arranged marriage? It would explain how she would react to anything concerning couples and love with a sad expression. If she is, then there's nothing he can do but wish her luck. Naruto decided to get up and go to the occult research club and wait for classes to let out. Now Naruto usually stood in the dark parts of the room, but since there was no one here, he decided to try the couch this time. Naruto took off his blazer jacket and put it on the armrest and sunk into the couch. Wow, this couch is very comfortable. Like way more comfortable than his bed, but then again everything was more comfortable than his bed. Naruto sunk even further into the couch and looked at the clock before closing his eyes. An hour before class ends, I can get a little shut-eye till then. Naruto didn't get to sleep often, so he took whatever he could get. He only got to sleep for about 30 minutes when he heard a voice and 3 pairs of footsteps heading towards the room. Naruto quickly deduced that the voice belonged to someone he didn't recognize. The now wide-awake Naruto used the Shunshin technique to quickly find a hiding spot. Naruto relaxed a bit in his spot when he saw Rias and Akeno walk into the room. He didn't know the lady in the maid outfit though. Rias-sama, you cannot put this off any longer. The silver-haired lady said. Rias would only nod solemnly as she sat behind her desk and folded her hands in front of her. Riser-sama will be visiting soon. Riser? Who the hell is that? Naruto thought. It took him a few seconds to realize that this was a conversation he should not be hearing. I should probably get out of here. He thought. So why wasn't he moving then? Well, there was only one explanation. He was a ninja and he was curious. Maybe he could find out whatever was bothering Rias this past week. Curiosity killed the cat Naruto. The trio sat there in silence for a few minutes when Kaneko came in. She noticed the tense atmosphere and decided to sit on the couch after greeting the three. It was when she sat on the couch did she notice Naruto's jacket sitting on the armrest of the couch. Fuck, he forgot about his jacket. Thankfully she didn't bring any attention to it, but she did subtly look around the room for him. It wasn't long before everyone else came into the room. "Sup guys? Grafia-san. What are you doing here?" Issei asked. His question went unanswered as Rias stood. "Good, you're all here," Rias said. "Rias-sama, may I begin speaking?" The now named Grafia asked. Rias held up a hand to stop her. As Rias was about to explain why Grafia was here, the room was lit up and a bright orange magic circle appeared in the room. The magic circle soon erupted in a gulf of flames. Naruto was visible in those brief seconds, but since everyone was focused on the magic circle no one saw him. When the flames dissipated there was a man standing where the magic circle was. The handsome man appeared to be in his early 20s with short blonde hair and dark blue eyes, and his outfit consists of a burgundy blazer with gold embroidery on the right with matching pants and black dress shoes. Underneath his open blazer is a white dress shirt that is not fully buttoned, giving a slight view to his chest. The man turned around and smirked at the people in the room. "HMPH, I haven't been to the human realm in a long time. It's good to see you, my dear Rias." "Who's this guy?" Issei asked. "This gentleman is Riser Phoenix-sama. He is a pure-blood upper-class devil, and the third son of the House of is also the fiancé of the next head of the House of Gremory. So in other words, he is Lady Ria's betrothed." Grafia answered. Naruto had to suppress a groan when Grafia finished her sentence. "Looks like this place had rank similar to back home it seems." Her sentence also answered the question that he had asked himself earlier before he came here. Rias was in an arranged marriage. Married what Issei exclaimed. The man sat down next to Rias and put her arm around her, an act which she didn't seem to like, judging by her lack of reaction. Akeno handed him a cup of tea. Riser took a sip and sighed in delight. "The tea prepared by my Rias queen is quite delicious." Akeno gave a slight bow, but she didn't look like she was happy to receive a compliment from him. Riser tried to caress her thigh, but she got up, stopping him in his tracks. "Riser, I've said it once and I'll say it again, I am not going to marry you. But Rias, I don't think you have a choice in the matter, both your family and mine already signed off on it, and I think your family is desperate enough not to allow you to be inconsiderate," Riser retorted. Wearing an arrogant smirk he continued. "Rias my dear, it's important for this marriage to happen. The number of pureblood devils vanished in the recent war, making devils like us rare." Naruto didn't like what he was hearing, but he had to admit the guy was making sense. The Leaf Village was the same way when it came to clans like the Uchiha or the Hyuga, they always tried to keep the bloodline pure. Now that he thought about it, the way these guys worked was really similar to back home. The three factions were basically the 5 nations. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts when Rias spoke again. "I don't intend to bring shame to my family, but I will marry whomever I wish. Rias, you too know that I bear the reputation of the House of Phoenix, just as you hold the reputation of the House of Gremory. I will not have you besmirching our name," Riser said with steel in his voice. He then looked to each of Ria's peerage members before looking back at Rias. "Even if I have to incinerate all of your servants, you're coming back to the underworld with me." It was then Rias glared at Riser. "Don't you dare lay a finger on my servants, Riser," Rias said while flaring her power. Riser matched her by doing the same thing. Grafia stopped them before they could go into a show of dominance. "I was ordered by my master to step in should things get out of hand, I will not hold back." When she finished both Rias and Riser powered down. Riser shrugged and threw his hands in the air. "When told something like that from the ultimate queen even I become fearful." Ultimate queen? Naruto thought. He would say he never heard of her, but he knew jack shit about anything supernatural so meh. "If this matter cannot be resolved peacefully then my master assigned me a last resort," Grafia said. Rias looked at her questionably. "Last resort? What are you talking about, Grafia?" she asked. "Rias-sama, if you wish to be insistent on not marrying Riser-sama, she is to settle it with him in a rating game," Grafia said. In her mind though she was scanning the room having sensed a foreign energy before it quickly vanished. Rating game? Where have I heard that? Issei thought about it for a few seconds before Sona came to mind. "Oh right, the student council president mentioned it before. A rating game is a chess-like game that noble devils engage in where their servants compete in battle," Kiba explained. "This is why those of us called evil pieces are given powers modeled after each chess piece. Akeno finished for him. My dear, I have played raiding games time and time again and have gotten many victories, meanwhile you and your servants can't even qualify for one. Riser said snidely. Rias and her peerage glared at him while Naruto just rolled his eyes from his hiding spot. To him this was nothing new, textbook in need of an ass kicking. But he did inwardly cringe when he heard that they had zero fighting experience. They were at a huge disadvantage. Only mature devils have ever been able to participate in a raiding game. In short, we're at a huge disadvantage. Issei said. Kaneko nodded at his words. That isn't our only disadvantage, Issei-senpai. She said. Riser looked at Rias and there was amusement clear in his eyes. Rias, just to be sure, are these your only servants? He asked. Rias' glare deepened at his question. So what if they are? Riser just laughed mockingly at her before snapping his fingers. Another orange magic circle appeared which Naruto had to give the guy some points. Hey, say what you will about the guy, but he has a great taste in color. The magic circle once again erupted in a gulf of flames. In the flames were a big group of beautiful women. The gulf of flames left Naruto once again visible for a few brief moments. However, those brief moments was what got him caught by Graphia as she was not paying attention to the flashy display. Her eyes narrowed in his direction. As you can see, I have a full. Excuse the interruption, Rias-sama, Riser-sama, but it appears we have an unwanted guest. Graphia said. Before pointing directly at the shadows right where Naruto was located. Oh shit. Rias was confused for a few seconds before her eyes widened. Oh no. She said quietly. Oh, do we now? Riser said as he gathered up his flames. Rias tried to stop him, but it was already too late as he shot his flames at Naruto. Naruto jumped to the side to get out of the way. It was successful in forcing him into the light, however. Who are you? Graphia demanded. Naruto's hair stood on end when she stepped forward. Naruto instinctively had his hand near his pouch ready to defend himself if need be, something which Graphia took note of. Rias, I thought you didn't have any more servants. Riser asked. Well, I didn't exactly answer your question, Riser. Rias said. On the outside she was calm and collected, can't say the same for her mind though. She was both impressed and mad at the same time. She was mad that he was eavesdropping, but she was impressed that he had managed to sneak up on them not once but twice now. He had also dug her a hole, so she was mad about that too. Her peerage was in the same state as her, especially Kaneko. Last time she was able to catch his scent. This time she didn't catch anything besides his jacket. I'll ask again, who are you? Graphia said again, albeit with a little more steel in her voice. She mentally noted that he was the source of the foreign energy she sensed earlier. His energy feels like that of the chakra you would find in a yokai, but different somehow. Seeing as everyone was staring at him, Naruto decided to concede to the lady's demand. Alright, you got me. The name's Naruto. You smell like a human. A beautiful young girl with dark blue eyes said with distaste. She has long blonde hair tied into twintails with large drill-like curls and blue ribbons, keeping them in place with several bangs hanging over her forehead. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the girl. And what of it, drill bit? Naruto retorted. Drill bit, she said as she glared at him. She was gonna say something else, but Graphia spoke up first. Rias-sama, surely you know the consequences of allowing a human who is not your servant to be here. Rias nodded her head. Rias was showing me the ropes of being a devil. Naruto lied. Rias looked at him and he shot her a look to play along. Rias nodded once more. Please, you're obviously still human. Riser said with strong distaste. Not everyone can make a decision right away. Naruto retorted, which made Riser glare at him. You should know your place when speaking to your superior, you human filth. Riser started to power up once again in a show of dominance. Riser-sama, I believe I already said to stop this. Graphia said, which caused him to power down once more. Riser shrugged before speaking. I suppose another weakling joining my Rias' peerage won't change anything. Tired of his constant belittlement of her family, Rias stepped up to Riser. Alright, we'll decide this with a rating game. As you wish, Rias-sama. Graphia said. Riser walked to the spot he appeared in while laughing. Riser, I swear I will wipe you out. I'm looking forward to it, Rias. I'll see you at the game. Oh, and make sure to teach that one some manners. Riser said, referring to Naruto. Riser and his peerage disappeared in a gulf of flames, laughing as he disappeared. Rias-sama, I do believe you have some explaining to do. Rias just sighed and rubbed her temples. She was starting to have yet another headache thanks to the guy across the room. After Rias finished explaining and everyone asking Naruto questions he didn't answer, it was time to address the elephant in the room. Rias-sama, you and your servants have 10 days to prepare for the raiding game. 10 days? Rias asked. Due to the difference in experience and strength, I wonder if 10 days is even an appropriate handicap. As you are now, you don't stand a chance against that guy. All heads turned to Naruto when he said this. I hate to say it, but he's right, but you. The odds are stacked against us. Kiba said. However, 10 days might be what you need to have a better chance against him. Naruto closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He said he didn't want to get involved, but these guys have been nothing but nice to him even when he tried pushing them away, and he wanted to repay that kindness. Even if he wouldn't join them he could still help them out. Plus he really didn't like the Trizer guy. And I might be able to help you guys. His words surprised every member of the Gremory peerage. What do you mean, Naruto? Rias asked. I can't help you guys with magic, but I can make you stronger in other areas. Sorry, but this matter is for peerage members only. Grafia told him. But unlike Riser and the girl from earlier, she held no distaste. It's okay, Grafia, we'll take any help we can get. Rias told her. If you insist, Rias-sama. Wait, I have a condition. When Rias nodded her head he continued. If I help you out, will you finally leave me alone about this peerage thing? The Gremory peerage looked disappointed at his words, but Rias nodded nevertheless. Naruto nodded his head before getting up to head out the door. Naruto. Naruto stopped and turned his head to face Rias. She gave him a grateful smile. Thank you. She said sincerely. Naruto stood silent for a few seconds before answering. You're welcome. With those words said, Naruto left out the door. I've never seen someone try so hard to be alone before. Makes you wonder what happened to him, Issei said. The others nodded their heads in agreement. Grafia raised an eyebrow which caused Rias to elaborate. Naruto is a very closed-off person and we really don't know anything about him, besides he owns a ramen shop. And he's very stubborn. Akeno finished. I see, it seems like you had your hands full with him. Grafia said. Rias just sighed. She had no idea. Naruto was walking to the pier with his bait in one hand and his fishing rod in the other. When he got to the pier he was greeted once again by the man he saw a week ago. Back again, kid. The man said. Naruto nodded his head and sat down. Naruto put some bait on his hook and threw it out into the water. The man noticed Naruto had an irritated look on his face. Bad day. Naruto nodded his head slowly. What happened? Justin and his friends. Naruto said. The man chuckled as he was reeling in a fish. Yeah, those can get you irritated real quick. The man said as he reeled in his fish and took it off the hook. Naruto looked at the man with confusion. He reminded him of Kakashi-sensei with his laid-back attitude. HMPH, you're a strange guy. Naruto told him. The man just chuckled once again. Yeah, I get that a lot, kid. Nothing else was said as they spent the rest of their company in a comfortable silence. Now Naruto was walking through the town thinking about how to help the Gremory peerage. Them having zero fighting experience was gonna be tricky, on top of that he didn't know their strengths and weaknesses or how much chemistry they had with each other. How am I gonna? Both Naruto and his train of thought stopped dead in their tracks before Naruto facepumped himself. Naruto then started walking in the direction of the nearest store. He had the kunai, shurikens and low-level paper bombs in his pouch. Now he needed itching powder, pink hair dye, some rope, a clock, 5 bells and a book. He knew exactly how he was gonna train them. But first they would have to pass a little test. Come on, Issei. Pick up the pace, Rias called out. Right and out of breath, Issei said. It was the day after the meeting with Riser and they were currently hiking up a hill to a secluded place in the mountains. Should we help him? If it's too much trouble I can take some of it. Asia said. It's fine, if Issei can't handle that much he'll never get stronger. Rias said. Asia still looked like she wanted to help the poor boy. He was nearly dead on his feet trying to hike up this hill. Speaking of getting stronger. Kiba said before looking at his fellow blonde walking next to him. What exactly are you going to be teaching us, Naruto? Everyone else had that same question. You'll find out when it's time for me to train you. Naruto told him. Naruto thought it would be a good idea to not say anything. Just like what Kakashi-sensei once did with Team 7 4 years ago, Naruto would see if they were actually worth training. Oh, and he also had a little surprise for them. Naruto found himself smirking. This was gonna be fun. When they got to the location, Naruto could honestly say he was impressed. The building they were apparently staying in was an extravagant several-story mansion with dozens of windows. It made the Hokage's building look like an ant. Next to the mansion was gazebo which was next to a pond filled with clear water. Wow, this looks fantastic. Asia said with amazement. Okay everyone, let's head inside and start training right away. Rias said before walking towards the mansion. Issei looked at her with wide eyes. Right away, but you won't let me rest will you? Issei exclaimed. Rias turned around to give him a teasing smirk. Nope, now let's go. Issei groaned before sluggishly following his king. Naruto however decided against following the group and decided to get his deep-term training exercise set up. Where are you going? Kaneko asked. I'll be setting my area up in that part of the forest. Naruto said while pointing to an area a little ways away from the mansion. And remember to skip lunch. Naruto said as he resumed walking away from the group. Every member had the same question in their heads. Just what was Naruto planning for them? So, that's how it went, huh? Yes. Yep, that definitely sounds like my little sister. I don't think she and her peerage have a chance at winning this match alone. However, Surzich's-sama. The now named Surziches raised an eyebrow in question. Oh? Do go on, Grafia. A human by the name of Naruto Uzumaki has taken to training Rias-sama and her servants. Apparently in Rias-sama's words he is unnaturally strong. Even for humans aware of the supernatural. On top of that he had managed to successfully hide from everyone in the room, including me for the most part. Her words caused Surziches to straighten up in his chair. His energy is also strange, he doesn't have magic and his energy is similar to that of a Yakai's chakra yet different. Grafia said. Surziches seemed to mull over her words for a few minutes before speaking. Do you think it might have a connection with the energy spike a year ago? It might be. And this Naruto, you say he's training my little sister. Why would she allow a human to stay in her clubroom if he's not her servant? Surziches could have sworn he saw a smirk there but chalked it up to his imagination. Rias-sama has been trying to recruit this boy as she did the holder of the boosted gear, but unlike the holder of the boosted gear, she hasn't had much success. She says the boy is very stubborn. His refusal to join has gotten under her skin quite a bit. Surziches chuckled a bit before relaxing in his chair once more. Looks like things just got a little bit more interesting. Alright, let's begin. Naruto said. It was in the evening, and the Gremory peerage were facing him all with questioning looks on their faces. They were even more confused when Naruto clicked the clock to start the timer before pulling out 5 bells. This is a test, all you have to do is take these bells away from me, simple right? Jingle, seems simple enough, what's the catch? Rias asked. Everything had a catch when it came to stuff like this. Naruto was a little pleased with her quick uptake, though he didn't let it show. He knew that after this there would be a lot of questions thrown his way. Of course there is a time limit, you'll have until 10 o'clock to get these bells. If you can't get these bells, you all will go without dinner and be tied to those logs over there while I eat my dinner in front of you. Naruto told them. Wait, so that means you told us to skip lunch so you can eat in our faces, Issei exclaimed. Yes and no. Stupid blonde bastard. He grumbled. But Fishcake-san, there's only 5 bells and they are 6 of us, I do believe you miscounted. Or is Asia not participating? Akeno said. Naruto's eyes started twitching at the use of his nickname, but let it slide. No, I didn't miscount and yes, Asia is participating. Just because she's not a fighter doesn't mean she can't contribute. If Asia is participating then that means one of us is not getting a bell. Kiba said. Naruto nodded his head. Like I said before, if you do not get these bells you will be tied to one of those logs. Either way one of you 6 is not getting a bell. Anything goes in this exercise. A look of understanding came across each of their faces. Everyone ready? Alright, begin. And so the bell test begins. Udo. Rias said. Even though it was one word, the tone of her voice made it sound like a command. Right. Kiba said before using just enough of his speed to blitz Naruto. He made a stab at Naruto's torso using the wooden sword in place of a real one, so he didn't hurt Naruto. They were holding back. Bad move. Kiba was surprised when Naruto parried his stab attempt and tried to disarm him. Kiba however recovered quickly and turned the stab into a horizontal slash. Naruto sidestepped his slash and hit him with a left jab before hitting him with a front kick to his gut, which had him sliding back to his original spot. Another thing, if you don't come at me like you mean it, you'll never get the bells. Naruto said. Rias narrowed her eyes, taking Naruto more seriously. Now, let's try this again. Begin. This time the Gremory peerage sprouted their wings and took the skies, far out of his sight. Well, Issei grabbed a blushing Asia and flew away. Right, he forgot they can fly. Welp, while they were plotting God knows what, Naruto plopped himself on the ground and pulled out a book he brought from the store. The cover had a kid with spiky hair and monkey tail riding a dragon. He didn't know what it was about, but it looked interesting enough. And now we wait. Rias and her peerage flew into cover behind a group of trees so they could come up with a plan. But what do we do? Issei asked. If Naruto wants us to fight like we mean it, then that's what we'll do. Our objective is getting those bells off him, so Kaneko, I want you, Yudo and Issei to keep him busy. Issei, I want you to use your boosted gear. Right, but boosted gear. Boost. Asia, you're on standby for any minor injuries, but if you can take a bell without issue, go for it. I will try my best. Asia said. Akeno, you're with me. Let's show Naruto what it means to be a part of this peerage. Rias exclaimed before spreading her bat-like wings once more and hovered above everyone. Right. But Naruto was still where he was a few minutes ago, reading the manga book with great interest. Naruto decided to put a pause in his reading as he got up and stretched his muscles before walking around the field, manga still in hand. It was after a few minutes of his silent reading when he heard a rustle in the bush. Kiba came walking out of the bush, sword at the ready. I'll admit, Naruto. I held back on you despite your performance with the Chimera because you were human. I won't make that same mistake twice. Kiba took his sword out of his holder and ran at Naruto with speeds way faster than before. Naruto could still keep up with him though. He's faster than before. Naruto thought as he dodged Kiba's attempts to slash at him. Naruto frowned when he dodged a little too late and Kiba managed to slice off a piece of his clothes. His reaction time has gotten slower. Not a good sign. Kiba tried to slice at his feet, but Naruto jumped back to put some distance in between them. Kiba smirked before putting his hand on the ground. Sword birth. The ground beneath Naruto's feet started rumbling. Knowing better than to stay there, Naruto jumped in the air to get away from the hundreds of swords beneath him. And that was exactly what Kiba wanted him to do. Sorry, Naruto-senpai. Naruto looked over to his right and saw a tree being swung at him. When was Kaneko there? Just as the tree hit him he used a substitution jutsu. The tree hitting nothing but a log. Kaneko and Kiba were confused. They were sure Naruto had nowhere to run, so how did he get himself out of that? They didn't have enough time to come up with a solution as Naruto appeared behind Kiba and roundhouse kicked him in his side, knocking him away temporarily. Naruto then engaged Kaneko in a one-on-one. Kaneko jumped up and lifted her leg high in the sky, forming an axe kick. Her stance is reminiscent of Tsunade's heaven kick of pain. Naruto jumped back as Kaneko's foot landed on the ground breaking the ground beneath her. Yep, definitely Bachan 3.0. Kaneko didn't let up as she charged and tried to hit him in his chest with a back kick. Keyword being tried. While execution was damn near perfect, she was slow. Her foot collided with his hand instead of his chest. He felt his hand rattle catching that kick. A little ways away was a Kiba getting back on his feet from the roundhouse Naruto gave him. Who knew Naruto could fight so well? Kiba looked at Kaneko and Naruto going blow for blow before he saw his chance. Naruto's focus was on Kaneko and the bells were at his hip. An opening. Using Kaneko's distraction to his advantage, Kiba ran towards the unsuspecting Naruto. Kaneko, seeing him coming, tried to keep Naruto from moving by putting him in a submission hold. Kiba had only managed to touch two of the bells before he felt someone slam into him. Despite Kiba having the speed of a knight, Naruto was still able to react by using Kaneko's small body against her, by picking her up and throwing her into Kiba, halting his attempt at the bells. Naruto looked around the field before sighing. I know you're there so come on out. He said. Realizing that they had been caught, Issei and Asia came out of the bushes. Oh, it's just you two. What do you mean by that, you blonde bastard? Issei said. Well, Asia is not a fighter and you can only summon a gauntlet. Naruto said before pulling out his manga book and started reading. Issei stared at him ridiculously. You're reading a book in the middle of the fight, why? Simple, cause neither this book nor this fight will be intellectually challenging. He taunted. Naruto didn't really taunt his opponents, but he could see that Issei was a little like himself when he was 13. If he guessed right his taunting should. Why you, don't fuck with me. I didn't get my ass kicked by Kiba and Kaneko-chan for nothing. Issei charged at Naruto intent on shutting him up. Yep, charge at him recklessly. Naruto easily dodged every single one of Issei's punches, but he could see some results in his training. His forms were a little off, but with some more training he'll be fine. Issei threw another punch and was confused when Naruto disappeared. Huh? Issei-san, behind you. Asia warned. Issei turned his head to see Naruto behind him in a crouched position with his book in his hands with his fingers sticking up. Too late. Naruto said. Hidden Leaf Secret Finger Jutsu. 1000 years of death. He thought as he raised his fingers towards Issei. Time seemed to slow down for Issei as he watched Naruto's fingers move towards. Oh no. The next few moments for him was pain. Pure pain. Ah, Issei screamed as he went flying through the air, holding his ass. Naruto watched in inner amusement as Issei crashed on the ground. Now he sees why Kakashi-sensei likes that move. Issei-san. Asia cried as she ran to his side. Is was slow to get up. Like very slow. That's not enough to take me down, blonde bastard. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Well, it looks like you're struggling, to me. Shut up. Boosted gear. Boost, 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 boost. Naruto watched Issei power up with interest. So that's what the gauntlet does. Issei closed his eyes and remembered what Akeno had taught him about magic. Focus and feel the surge of magical power. Issei held out his hand and a small red orb appeared. What? Is this all I can manage? Ah, fuck it, ha. Issei screamed as he punched the orb, making it shoot out as a decently sized red beam. Naruto's eyes widened before jumping to the side, letting the beam pass by him. He could feel the heat of it zooming past him. The beam hit the mountain behind Naruto. Naruto looked at the damage in slight surprise. That was impressive. And no way I did that. Issei said before losing consciousness. He used up all his strength. Naruto watched as Asia ran up to Issei and started healing him. So she was a healer then. Kiba and Kaneko were about to charge him again, but they saw their king and queen in their peripheral vision, so they instead grabbed the unconscious Issei and started retreating with Asia close behind. Naruto was confused when instead of asking questions or charging at him again they ran. Huh? Why are they? Naruto started, but he stopped as his vision started to have a red hue to it. Naruto looked around the field before he looked up in the sky, spotting the source. In the sky were Rias and Akeno with their demonic energy surrounding them. Now Akeno. Rias called out. Akeno giggled before she and Rias sent their hands down at Naruto as both of their attacks at him. Naruto stared at the attacks coming down at him in indifference. Just as the attack came close enough he shunshined out of the way. Boom, when the dust cleared there was nothing there besides a damaged field. Oh no, did we actually kill him? Akeno asked in worry. The blast should have been strong enough to knock him out, not kill him. Rias and Akeno flew down to the spot Naruto was once in. I hope not, Naruto. Naruto, Rias called out. Relax, I'm not dead. Rias and Akeno turned around to see Naruto sitting in a tree. Rias and Akeno stared at him wide-eyed. Wow, how'd you? Rias started, but she was cut off by the sound of a clock ringing. Looks like you're out of time. Naruto said. A few minutes later we see Naruto sitting with a bowl of ramen in his hands and across from him was the Gremory peerage. But we're all tied up. In the end none of you succeeded in taking a bell. Naruto said as he ate some of his ramen, ignoring the rumbling stomachs of the peerage. Naruto-san, this is mean. Asia said. Maybe so, but I said what would happen if you failed to take a bell. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Rias said with narrowed eyes. Naruto shrugged before speaking again. By definition, you guys absolutely failed this test. However, you did pass on the true nature of this test. He could practically see the question in their head, so he elaborated. The true reason why I tested you was to see if you guys were actually a team instead of just a peerage. Well, you guys failed to grab a bell, there were times where your teamwork got you close. So in other words, Naruto finished the rest of his meal and walked away from them. You pass. Naruto jumped back as Kaneko slammed her fist into the ground he was standing on, large chunks of the earth spread out underneath the force of her punch. It was early morning when Kaneko had asked him for a spar since the others were not up yet. During the spar, Naruto noticed that while she was a great fighter, she had a glaring problem. Her speed. Naruto watched as she threw a back fist when she got close enough. Her form and execution was excellent. It was more than enough to put an average fighter down for the count. But to a shinobi like him, it was way too slow. Naruto caught her wrist and did a judo throw right over his shoulder. Kaneko came right back at him with a flurry of punches, all of which he dodged. Another problem he noticed was that she was predictable. Kaneko threw a chamber punch at him which he parried that made her stagger. Taking advantage, Naruto hit her with a quick back kick that pushed her back a good distance. Kaneko was going to come at him again when Naruto held his hand up to stop her. That's enough for now. Naruto walked over to one of the spots that was unharmed by their spar and grabbed a water bottle and tossed it to her. A few seconds passed as Kaneko drank her water bottle. Naruto took a few minutes to think about how to break down Kaneko's performance to her. Overall, you're definitely better than the average fighter, but you have some problems. Kaneko nodded, letting him know she was listening. Your form and execution were great, excellent even, but you're too slow and it leaves you open for counterattacks. Naruto said. Kaneko nodded her head in understanding, but a question came to her head. How do you know so much about fighting? She asked. Naruto knew they were gonna have questions regarding his abilities, so he was prepared for this. Took some self-defense classes when I was younger. Got interested and studied hand-to-hand combat. Kaneko nodded her head. That somewhat explained his skill in hand-to-hand, but that didn't explain how he was able to keep up with Kiba and go toe-to-toe with her, as well as how he was able to escape when she swung that tree at him. She was about to voice her questions when Naruto started speaking again. Some of your moves are also predictable to the experienced fighter. Like that chamber punch and the backfist you threw at me. He said. Overall, she's definitely a good fighter, but she lacks experience. You need to work on your speed first and foremost. All that power you got won't matter if you can't hit your opponent. Man, he sounded so much like Hiro-Senin and Kakashi-sensei he wanted to laugh. Naruto then started to walk away towards the mansion. The others should be up by now. You're weird, Naruto-senpai. Kaneko said before following him towards the mansion. I get that a lot. After walking into the mansion, Naruto split from Kaneko and entered his room. That spar had felt good. It's been a whole year since he fought someone that strong, and he was getting back into the swing of things himself. Naruto thought about how he was gonna help Kaneko increase her speed. He then thought about Lee's fight with Gaara 4 years ago. Lee had been wearing some training weights, sure they were basic, but they sure as hell did wonders for his speed. After that day, a young Naruto made sure he always had a pair of weights with him. He looked in his ninja pouch to see if he still had some, and he soon found it in a scroll with his training equipment he used to use when he was 13. There were also some scrolls on wind-style jutsu Kakashi-sensei had given him during his training for the Rasen Shuriken, as well as some scrolls he got from his godfather 4 years ago. He never bothered opening these, so he forgot he had them. Other than that, there was nothing else but his basic ninja tools. After he grabbed a pair of weights for Kaneko and himself, Naruto made his way out of the room to find Kaneko. Eventually he found Kaneko after about 10 minutes and gave her the weights, and after a brief talk with the peerage about their training exercise, Naruto decided to do some meditating in one of the open areas of the forest. Well, at least he's trying to. His mind however refused to relax. What if this training isn't enough? If this riser guy was as good as he makes himself out to be, these guys are toast. He thought. Even if he wouldn't admit it out loud, Naruto was a little worried about these guys, just a little bit. Issei was the weakest of the bunch, Kaneko was slow, Kiba was an excellent swordsman, but there were a lot of holes in his defense that he saw when he was up close with him, and he hasn't really fought Rias and Akeno head-on. Their teamwork was decent enough, much better than when he was on Squad 7 when he became a genin. Magic is completely out of his element, so the most he could do for them right now is help them with their hand-to-hand and teach them about their surroundings. He wanted to help these guys fight that, how could he not? It was his nature to help people when they needed it, but if he joined them, how would he get back home? Could he be turned back into a human? Would it be worth it? What if he lost everything again? So many questions in Naruto's mind, yet none of them could be answered. Realizing that his mind wasn't gonna relax anytime soon, Naruto got out of his meditating position and put on the weights he brought with him before doing some one-handed handstand push-ups, trying yet failing to ease his mind. Long ago, we devils, angels, and fallen angels were in a big three-sided war. There has been neither victory nor defeat on either side, and the battles have left lasting damage on every faction, and due to the war and the low birth rates of devils, as well as having lifespans that are nearly eternal, our species as a whole is at risk. Rias explained. She was currently explaining to her peerage about the purpose of a peerage. She had invited Naruto to sit with them, but he yet again declined, opting to do some training outside. Issei rubbed his chin and thought. Is that why you got set up with that guy? But you? Rias sighed before answering his question. Unfortunately, you are correct to say, following all of the fighting, almost all of the great family lines consisting of pureblood high-class devils were wiped out. Those family lines make up what is known as the 72 pillars. This is the reason why devils turn humans into devils to increase their household. Rias waited for Issei and Asia to process her words before continuing. This is how the raiding game came about. Through this, the masters of the devil households are able to provide them with combat experience as well as display their own abilities. It also has a huge influence on one's status. Rias let out a breath. Whew, that was a lot. What do you say we take a break? As everyone nodded their heads, Akeno and Asia got up to make some tea. Issei had a look of deep thought as a question came to his mind. But you, are there any humans that can do what we do? Issei asked. Well, as you know, there are some humans aware of the supernatural. Besides Naruto, I don't think there are any who can do what we do, at least not that I know of. Well, it's just that when we were sparring, he got behind me somehow. I didn't even see him move. Issei said, internally cringing at the memory. That night Asia had to heal his ass. Boy, was that embarrassing. Same here, he's fast enough to react to my speed. Kiba added on, to which Rias and Issei's eyes widened, as well as beat me in hand-to-hand combat. Kaneko chimed in. At her words, everyone looked at her in surprise. By this time, Akeno and Asia, who had come back just in time to hear Kaneko's words, started setting the table with the tea. Kaneko was their best hand-to-hand fighter, so to hear she lost was a little shocking. We had a spar about an hour ago, didn't even touch him. Kaneko said. While she had shown no emotion on the outside, on the inside she was a little disappointed in herself. Did you learn anything about him? Rias asked. Took some self-defense classes when he was younger. I think he's lying. Kaneko said. Despite what Naruto had told her, she knew that someone who only took defense classes wouldn't have been able to beat them like he did yesterday. Rias just sighed at her answer. Lie or not, it's a start at least. Anyway, Asia, I'd like to hear your story as a former sister. Oh, okay. Asia said before grabbing a Bible and a bottle of holy water. After Asia finished explaining her story, everyone went to go do their own training. Well, not Issei and Asia, those two still needed help. It was afternoon time when Naruto gathered the peerage and led them to the section of the forest where he set up his training exercise. When they got there, Naruto drew a line in the dirt to mark the entrance before turning to speak to them. Welcome to your next training exercise, I call it the FOD. The others looked at Naruto with confused stares. What the hell is FOD? Issei asked the question on everyone's mind right now. Naruto took a minute to sort out his answer. Sure, he could just tell him what the abbreviation means, but where's the fun in that? The FOD is a survival training exercise of sorts. This training will test the limits of your perception skills and reflexes. The peerage nodded their head in understanding. Okay, but what does FOD mean specifically? Rias asked, and for the first time ever, the Gremory peerage aside from Kiba see Naruto smirk. It was a quick smirk, but that smirk didn't fail to put a shiver down everyone's spines. You're smart, you'll figure out what it means. Anyway, your objective is to make it out of this section of the forest. I marked a tree nearby that signals your exit. Find the tree and you're home free. Naruto then started walking away and motioned Asia to follow him. Asia, you're with me. Though Asia did not look like she wanted to separate from Issei, she nodded her head and started to follow him. Akeno, not one to miss an opportunity to tease, sent a teasing smile at Naruto. Ara fish cake-san, giving special treatment to Asia-chan are we? To her surprise, her words did not have the desired effect as Naruto had another smirk on his face as he turned around to face her. Nope, Asia is just not ready for this kind of exercise. His words caused everyone to have confused looks on their faces as they tried to decipher his meaning. All we have to do is get out of this forest, right? Should be easy enough. Any parting words for us, Naruto? Rias asked. Naruto looked at Rias and she could swear she saw amusement in his eyes, but it was quickly masked. Any parting words? I guess I have one word. Naruto then looked at every single peerage member besides Asia in the eye, the smirk on his face now gone. Survive. A couple of minutes later the Gremory peerage minus Asia were currently walking through the forest Naruto had whipped up for them. How the hell are we supposed to get out of here? Issei questioned as he pushed a tree branch out of his face. Naruto said he marked a tree somewhere nearby, so we need to find that tree if we want to get out of here. Kiba said. Well, that's easier said than done. All of these trees looked. Issei didn't finish his sentence as he and the peerage heard something snap. Apparently, Rias had stepped onto some kind of wire leading it to snap. Watch out. Kiba exclaimed as about 10 kunai shot out towards them from their hiding spot. The peerage dodged the kunai by ducking down to the ground. When they got up from the ground they heard a sizzling noise. Rias turned to the source of the noise and she saw a kunai that was shot at them embedded in a tree that had a tag on it that was quickly dissolving. Rias could barely make out the kanji on the tag that meant explode. Rias' eyes widened. Oh, shy. Boom. What was that? Asia asked worriedly from the other side of the forest. Looks like they triggered the first trap I set up. Naruto said. Asia looked at him in surprise. Trap? Relax, it's not gonna kill them I think. Naruto said as he pulled out his Dragon Ball manga from his pouch and started reading. I hope they make it out okay. Asia said. They won't come out unscathed, but if they're hurt too bad well that's why you're here. Naruto said nonchalantly as he flipped to the next page. Asia looked at him in curiosity. She could see the bags forming under his eyes. She had never seen someone so try so hard to not want friends, and it bothered her. Naruto-san, why do you not want friends? Asia asked him. Naruto paused his reading to look at her. No one had ever asked him that question before. He honestly didn't have an answer. Well, he did, but it's not like he just could say oh I have friends, they just come from a different world. It's just that I was alone before I met Issei-san and everyone and I remember wanting a real friend back then. But you want to push us away, why? Naruto was about to answer with a cold reply, but when he looked at her his words died in his throat. There was concern in her eyes. Naruto sighed and took a few seconds to gather his words. Let's just say I'm not used to having friends. Naruto told her. Asia nodded her head in understanding. She was going to say something else, but when she opened her mouth she heard a scream. It hurts. Asia's head whipped in the direction of the scream while Naruto silently chuckled. That's Issei-san. Asia said in a worried tone. Yeah, you might want to have that healing of yours on standby. About a couple of hours of screams and explosions later Naruto and Asia heard the bushes in front of them rustle. Out of the bushes came the roughed up forms of Rias and the others. Naruto looked up from his spot and saw the damage his training exercise had done. There were rips and blood patches all on the group's clothes. Asia ran over to the group, Twilight healing at the ready. Issei looked ready to pass out right there. Rias had blood running down her arm and half of the chest part of her tracksuit was gone revealing her bra. Kaneko had scorch marks and holes on her shirt and Kiba was missing a sleeve on his tracksuit and was using his sword as a back scratcher and Akeno. Naruto tried his hardest to keep a smirk off his face. Akeno was glaring at him with bubblegum pink hair, Naruto noted with satisfaction. He was hoping she would be the one to trigger that trap. She's been teasing him for weeks and it was about time for some payback. Hey, he might be a little more serious since coming here, but he couldn't pass up a good prank opportunity when it presented itself. Have fun? Naruto asked, managing to keep his facial expression neutral. Have fun, we could have died in there. Issei exclaimed. The others nodded in agreement. Why didn't you say anything about traps? Rias asked indignantly. Kiba and Kaneko gave a hum of agreement. Well, if I told you all about the traps it would have defeated the purpose of the challenge. Seeing their angered expression turn into confusion, Naruto sighed. I told you this exercise was one to test your perception and reflexes. When you go into unknown territory, always check for traps. Naruto said, his voice unintentionally taking on that of a teacher. Seeing as how you all look the way you do, your perception and reflexes could use a bit of work. So, even after your match you will continue this exercise until you walk out without so much as a scratch. The peerage cringed at the idea of going back into that forest, but nevertheless they nodded. Good, as for the rest of your combat training you will be doing one-on-one sparring. I already sparred with Kaneko so I know what her problem is, but I need to get a grasp on the rest of you. After he had finished speaking, Rias restored everyone's clothes to their prime condition before giving a sigh. How does dinner sound to everyone? It's getting pretty late. When they started the survival training it was still well early into the afternoon, now the sun was setting which was a testament to how long they'd been in there. Issei's stomach rumbled in agreement to Ria's question. He scratched behind his head in embarrassment. Dinner sounds pretty good, but you. The others nodded their heads in agreement as they started to walk back to the mansion. Naruto tried to walk away from the group, but Rias wasn't having it, not this time. You're coming too, Naruto. She said. Naruto turned around with an eyebrow raised. You're cooking us dinner with Asia and Issei. What? Why me? Think of it as punishment for throwing us in that forest. You can't be serious. But the look in Ria's eye told him that she was dead serious. In fact each member was staring at him, while Akeno was glaring at him, but that's besides the point. Naruto groaned before reluctantly following the peerage. Now the group was at the table eating what Issei, Asia and Naruto made for them. Naruto made himself a bowl of ramen though. So what did you all think of the training from these past 2 days? It's rough, but that's probably because I'm still the weakest out of us. Issei said. Well that may be true, your boosted gear and Asia's twilight healing are very important. That's why we are training, to make sure you don't become a hindrance. Issei and Asia nodded their heads in understanding. I think that the training is a little extreme. Kiba said while looking at Naruto, to which he rolled his eyes. I think it's effective. Kaneko said. At least somebody thought his training was good. If you didn't feel like you were dying while training, are you really getting stronger? It's unorthodox. Akeno said, still a little peeved at her pink hair. Naruto stifled a snicker, but Akeno heard it, causing her to look at him. Have something to say, Fishcake-san? Nope. Naruto said without looking at her. Sensing another argument, Rias spoke up. Unorthodox or not, we're all glad you decided to help us, Naruto. Naruto looked up to see Rias smiling softly at him. He looked around to see the other peerage members nodding their heads with small smiles on their faces. HMPH, you can thank me by not getting your asses kicked by that guy. Naruto said. After a while Naruto and the others finished their plates. Now that we are finished, I think it's time we got the baths. Rias said. Issei got up from his seat with a very perverted grin on his face. Oh, do you want to watch us bathe, Issei? You can come, I don't mind. How about you, Akeno? Ara, I don't mind either. How about you, Asia? I guess it's okay. Asia said embarrassingly. Kaneko? Rias asked. Issei was ecstatic, him and the girls were going to bathe together. Oh, he could see it now, all those beautiful eye. He was so close, and now all he needed now was for Kaneko-chan to agree, and I'd rather die. Damn it. Oh well, sorry. Maybe next time, Issei. Rias said in amusement. Issei slumped down in his chair with comical tears, and Asia patted his back trying to comfort him. How about you, Naruto, wanna join? Naruto, who was ignoring the whole conversation up until when he heard his name called, lifted his head up with a raised eyebrow. Come again? Did you want to bathe with us? Rias asked again. Naruto looked at her like she was crazy before looking at Kiba for confirmation. Kiba, seeing his confusion, just nodded his head at him. Naruto actually looked flustered as he figured out how to answer her, something Rias positively noted. I think I'll pass. Naruto said before getting up from his seat and awkwardly walked out the room. Rias giggled at Naruto's behavior. Well, at least he's not made out of stone. After they had gone to bathe, everyone had gone to bed exhausted by today's training. Everyone but two. Rias couldn't sleep because she had a lot on her mind regarding the rating and Naruto, well his subconscious wouldn't let him sleep for long. Rias found Naruto awake when she walked to the gazebo. Naruto? Why are you still up? Naruto looked at her in slight surprise, he didn't think anyone else would be up at this time. I could ask you the same thing. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, up for a chat. When Naruto just shrugged his shoulders, Rias sat on one of the edges across from Naruto and opened her book. What you got there? Naruto asked. Rias looked up from her book at Naruto. He looked tired, well not really, as usual he did a good job at hiding it, but his eyes gave him away. She could see the bags forming under his eyes. She put these observations in the back of her mind and answered his question. It's my battle manual, it's supposed to help me with my attack plans, but it's not really helping at the moment. Naruto nodded his head as Rias continued to talk. The person we're up against is no easy win, Riser from the House of Phoenix. Phoenix? As in the immortal bird? Rias nodded her head at his question. As the name implies, he has the powers of the saintly beast. He's practically immortal, he generates immediately upon attacks, and he's considered a marquee among the 72 pillars. The what pillars? 72 pillars, it's a line of great families of high-class pure-blood devils. Riser is a part of one of those great families, the House of Phoenix. Rias didn't see it, but Naruto rolled his eyes at her information, making comparisons to his home village's clans. Anyway, Riser's win record is 8 wins and 2 losses. Those losses, however, came on purpose to a family he was on good terms with. Seems like quite the foe for you all. Rias nodded her head in agreement. The odds were very stacked against them. Yeah, ever since the rating game was established, the House of Phoenix has risen up dramatically. Rias sighed. That is to be expected though, if you're immortal there's no way you can lose. I don't think so. Naruto mentally cringed, he didn't mean to say that so fast, but the words just came right out of his mouth. Rias looked at him in question, Naruto closed his eyes and elaborated. I mean just because he's immortal doesn't mean he can't lose the fight, right? He said, thinking about his fight with Kakazu when he used Rasen Shuriken for the first time. The man had 5 hearts and if it wasn't for his then new technique he wasn't sure if would have won that fight. Rias looked at Naruto in surprise before she started to chuckle, catching Naruto's attention. Naruto opened his eyes and raised an eyebrow. You are very strange, Naruto. Huh? I mean here you are completely human and yet over the past few days I've seen you do things that's impossible for humans. On top of that you had absolutely zero reaction to the existence of the supernatural. And those kunes and shurikens you always seem to have as well, your impressive stealth, if I didn't know any better I'd swear that you're a ninja. Rias said in a curious voice and her eyes had this certain gleam to them. Wow, all that from a guess. Naruto mentally whistled at her deduction skills, this girl hit that bullseye, no the double bullseye on that one. Look, I'm usually a quiet person these days so I guess it's easy for me to blend into the background and as for the kunes and shurikens, I just got them from a blacksmith I met a while ago. He said. He's not exactly lying to her, he's just telling her a bullshit truth. Oh. She said in disappointment as the gleam in her eyes disappeared. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Why are you so miffed about marrying that guy anyway? It's none of my business, but I'm curious. Naruto asked in hopes of a change in subject. In truth he already knows why, he was just eager to steer this conversation away from him. To his relief Rias sighed and answered his question. It's because I'm the heir of the House of Gremory, my family name hangs over me. No matter what I do I'll always be known as Rias Gremory. Naruto could sympathize with her here, her situation was reminiscent of Konohamaru as well as his, well mostly Konohamaru. For a long time he was known as the nine-tailed brat and Konohamaru the honorable grandson of the third Hokage, so he could say he understood how she felt, even if it was a little bit. I'm proud of my name, but for once I wish someone could see me not as Rias Gremory but just Rias. Rias said a bit solemnly. I can understand that, you want people to see you for you and not your name. If it makes you feel any better I don't know shit about Devil Society and I don't really care either, but you've always been Rias to me. Rias looked at him in surprise, but he didn't stop. That same Rias who's annoying and irritatingly stubborn and won't leave me alone for 2 seconds. Rias nearly fell over and she was about to glare at him until she saw his face. He was smirking. It was small, but it was there. He was messing with her, her glare softened into a small smile before chuckling again. Thanks Naruto, I needed that. Naruto nodded his head at her and they went into a comfortable silence. After a while Rias let out a yawn. I'm gonna head to bed, okay, Naruto. Naruto grunted a reply. Thank you for the chat, Naruto. If you ever need to talk to someone we're all here. Naruto nodded his head again and Rias walked away from the gazebo, turning in for the night. Once she was far enough away Naruto ran his hand through his hair and sighed. He was not expecting to have a conversation with Rias when he came out here to clear his head, but he was a little glad to give her a little peace of mind and he wished he could say the same for himself. Naruto decided to get some late night training in, so he hopped off the gazebo and went walking into a part of the forest that was quite a bit a ways from the mansion. As he was walking he heard something that sounded like clothes ripping and he decided to follow the sound. What he found was Issei training with clothes tied to a tree. Women's clothes specifically. Okay, now he was confused. Stepping out Naruto confronted Issei. What are you doing? Issei nearly jumped out of his skin when he heard Naruto's voice. Oh, it's you. How long were you standing there? Not long, what are you doing? Issei tried to come up with some flimsy excuse, but he ended up finding none, so he just sighed. It's this move I'm working on, Asia's helping me by giving me some of her clothes. Issei explained as he motioned his hand to the ripped up clothes across the floor. And you need her clothes because? At his question Issei's face took on a look he was all too familiar with. Perversion. He should have known. The move isn't complete yet, but when it is it'll leave girls completely naked. I'll be able to see their op-eye, I call it dress break. Issei declared as he took a stance and laughed victoriously and for a moment Naruto felt like he was with his late godfather again. On the outside it was a bit of an awkward silence, but Naruto broke it. Okay, carry on. He said before turning around and began walking away from the boy. He wasn't gonna criticize Issei, knowing what his first ever jutsu was, he didn't have the right to criticize Issei. Seeing Naruto made questions Issei had forgotten about earlier comeback and seeing how this might be his only chance to talk to him, he said the first thing that's on his mind. How can you do what you do? Naruto paused in his steps and turned his head slightly as Issei continued. I used to think I was weak because I used to be human. But when we got here, Asia showed more talent than me, well I could barely do one push-up. Naruto still didn't turn around, but the side of his head could be seen. Issei closed his eyes and sighed hard. And you came here and beat all of us without so much as a scratch. You're still human and yet you can do all of this. I guess it just makes me feel a little worthless. It was here Naruto fully turned around to face him. Naruto could sympathize with Issei here, God knows how many times he had felt worthless when compared to Sasuke. Naruto sighed before running his hand through his hair as he thought about how to answer Issei. After about a few moments of silence, Issei dropped his shoulders, taking Naruto's silence as an answer. You remember our little skirmish yesterday, right? Naruto had asked him. Issei lifted his head and nodded. And do you remember what happened after I had gotten behind you? Issei glared at him this time. Pain in my backside, you blonde-haired bastard. Naruto rolled his eyes. No, after that. Issei blinked and he put his hand on his chin and thought. It took a minute, but he was able to recall what happened. I fired that beam at you. Naruto nodded his head. Only you didn't hit me, but you hit that mountain behind me and you almost destroyed it. Issei started to realize Naruto's point. No one who's worthless is able to nearly destroy a mountain. You might not be strong now, but if you work hard you can be someday. Even though Naruto didn't really sound like he meant it, his words ended up restoring Issei's self-esteem as the depressed look in his eyes disappeared and a look of determination replaced it. Naruto turned around and walked away from the determined Issei, this time actually making it to his training spot. Issei watched Naruto leave and he turned back to the semi-ripped shirt tied to the tree and smiled. I'm going to get strong, to be useful to Butchu and protect Asia. I'm the one who got her into this mess, I should be strong enough to get her out of it. I'll become strong enough to achieve my dream. To become the harem king. With his confidence restored, Issei got right back to training. He had a move to complete. The next couple of days went by rather smoothly. Most of the time the peerage would help either Issei and Asia when they needed it. Kaneko was progressing in her weighted gear. When she first put them on she could barely move, it might not make her improve her speed drastically, but every little bit helps. He had pointed out some of the holes in Kiba's defense and helped him cover them whenever he sparred with him. The only ones who he really couldn't help were Rias, Akeno and Asia. Asia wasn't a fighter and Rias and Akeno used magic more than anything else. He did make sure to teach them the basics of hand-to-hand though. Issei had also improved on his hand-to-hand combat throughout the week and he had Kaneko and Naruto to thank for that. If you'd ask Issei though, he would easily take Kaneko's sparring session over Naruto's. Well, Kaneko made an effort not to hurt him too badly. He was convinced Naruto didn't give a damn about his safety. Let's just say him and Asia had a lot of healing sessions throughout the week. On the plus side, Naruto had also grown a little more comfortable with the group. He was still very distant, but he wasn't completely shutting them out anymore. Now he actually hung out with them when they weren't training, although he was just reading his Dragon Ball manga whenever he was in the same room, which wasn't too often. Now we have the girls in the hot springs bathing their wounds from another session in Naruto's Forest of Death. Rias gave a relaxing sigh as she slumped down into the water. Who knew that training could be so exhausting? Yes, especially if it's coming from Fish Cake-san. Akeno said a little bitterly. Rias giggled at her queen's behavior. Ever since Akeno came out of their first trip to the Forest of Death with pink hair, she had been getting a little irritated whenever Naruto's name came up in a conversation. Akeno, are you still mad about the pink hair thing? I think it was kind of funny. Her comment earned her a mock glare from Akeno, but Rias brushed it off. Akeno has always teased her when it came to things like this, so to see the glove on the other hand was quite amusing for her. She would have to thank Naruto for that later. Besides, I think his training is really helping, despite it being very harsh. Akeno couldn't argue against that. It was true that despite them usually coming back with injuries, Naruto's training helped them all improve somewhat, especially in Issei's and Asia's case. It does make you wonder how he set all of that up. Rias nodded her head in agreement. Over by the shower heads were Kaneko and Asia scrubbing themselves. Asia gave a strained sigh. What's the matter? Kaneko asked while scrubbing over some scratch marks. I'm a little worried about Issei-san, he's been coming back with more bruises from when Naruto-san trains him. Naruto-senpai might be a little harsh, but it works. I guess so. You were also improving, which is good. Whenever Issei came back with injuries, Asia would heal him, and seeing as how often he came back with them, Asia's healing capabilities improved a bit. Asia smiled at the compliment and resumed scrubbing herself. If Issei was getting stronger by the day, then that was good enough for her. She would just stay by his side as he got stronger by the day. Okay, one more time, Issei. Akiba, here I come. Issei ran at Kiba with a wooden sword in hand. He tried to slash horizontally at Kiba, but he parried it. That's better than last time, but not good enough. Kiba said as he parried another one of Issei's slashes. Issei tried to close the distance by lunging at Kiba, but he dodged it by moving to the side. This left Issei open momentarily, something which Kiba took advantage of. Kiba used his wooden sword and smacked Issei on his back, which sent him stumbling forward. "Remember what I told you, Issei. Alright, watch your surroundings and my opponent." Issei tightened his hold on his sword and ran right back at Kiba. Once again he tried to slash at Kiba, and once again he parried it. Kiba tried to hit him with a counterattack. However, Issei learned his lesson and parried his counterattack. He then thrusted his wooden sword into Kiba's chest, pushing him back a bit. Kiba looked at his chest and smiled a bit. Issei was improving, that was good. Kiba got back into a ready stance and came right back at Issei faster than before. Throughout the spar, Kiba kept the upper hand as the better swordsman, but Issei didn't do as bad as when he first started. Issei was still an amateur, that was for certain, but he was slowly getting better. After the spar was over, Issei and Kiba were sitting on the ground drinking some water. Well, Issei was laying across the floor catching his breath. "You did better than last time, Issei," Kiba said in between sips of his water. Thanks," Issei said. Issei sat himself up and grabbed his water bottle and started to drown it. After a few big gulps, Issei sat his water down and let out a sigh of relief. That hit the spot. "Hey Issei." "What is it, Kiba?" "You and Asia were both saved by Butchu, and now we're in a similar situation. We have to get stronger and make sure we come out on top in the rating game. For Butchu's sake," Kiba said. Issei nodded his head. "Absolutely. We'll both get stronger for Butchu's sake. To save her from the," Issei said with determination. Kiba gave a small smile at Issei's resolve before getting up and getting into a ready stance. "Alright then, let's go again if you will." Renewed with energy, Issei got up and grabbed his wooden sword. "Here I come, Kiba," he said before running at Kiba. Naruto just stepped out of the shower with a relaxed sigh. He hadn't had a shower like that in well ever. He had to admit wherever Rias got this shower from, it was a great decision. He walked over to the counter where his fresh clothes were and looked in the mirror. Well, he couldn't because of all the steam from the shower. After wiping away some of the fog, Naruto looked at himself. He's definitely seen better days, that's for sure. There were bags starting to grow under his eyes from all the restless nights. Now he was no stranger to all-nighters, but going months on end without a good night's rest was starting to take its toll. Now that he was really paying attention to himself, he hadn't noticed the changes in his appearance. Naruto combed his hand through his hair. It was starting to look like his dad's now that he had a good look at it. The thought brought him a little comfort. Naruto put his hand on the mirror and sighed hard and suppressed the tears that threatened to leak. "God, I miss you all," he said, his voice nearly breaking at the end. "Hey, what the hell are you sulking around for?" Naruto whipped his head up and looked around the bathroom, only to see that the doors were still closed. "Boy over here, dum-dum." Naruto turned his head to the source of the voice and was surprised at what he was seeing. It was his own reflection that was the source of the voice. Only it wasn't his reflection that he was looking at here. It was him per se, but something was off, way off. He was younger. 4 years younger to be exact. In his bright orange and blue tracksuit and ninja headband in all its glory. The young Naruto smiled at the older counterpart. "What cat got your tongue?" he asked with an antagonizing tone. "How in the world is this happening?" Naruto asked. His younger counterpart rolled his eyes and waved his question off. "That's not what you should be asking. What you should be asking is," the young Naruto's smile dropped into a glare. "What the hell are you doing?" Taken aback by the sudden 180, Naruto shook his head clear and answered his reflection a question of his own. "What are you talking about?" The young Naruto's glare intensified. "You know exactly what I'm talking about. You're really just gonna stand by and let them fight on their own like that? Their fight is none of my business. Besides, I've already helped them enough," Naruto replied with an indifferent tone. The young Naruto scoffed. "Yeah right, like one little training exercise is gonna help them win that battle. Whether they win or lose their battle is up to them. I did what I could. So, what? You're just gonna abandon them when they need you?" the young Naruto asked with disbelief. His older self turned around and leaned back on the counter. "HMPH, they don't need me and you can't abandon someone if you weren't with them in the first place," Naruto said in a cold tone. The younger Naruto balled his fists. "You're a coward." "What did you say?" Naruto asked, turning his head to glare at his young reflection. His reflection immediately returned that glare. "You heard me. You're a coward. They're asking for your help and you're just running and giving up. What happened to our Nindo? That doesn't matter now, what matters now is my goal and that's getting home. You sound just like him," the young Naruto said quietly. It went quiet between the two Narutos for about a minute before the young Naruto spoke up again. "Do you remember what Kakashi-sensei told us that day on the test?" "Of course you do, you're me. Those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum." Naruto, who had his head down, lifted it up at his words. "If you're too hellbent on going home that you abandon your friends, then I don't think you deserve to go home." Naruto whipped his head to make a reply, but when he looked at the mirror it was just his reflection. His true reflection. Naruto clenched his fists in frustration before letting out a growl of frustration before putting on his clothes and walking out of the bathroom. It was now the night before the rating game, and Naruto was sitting on the bed of his room doing some heavy thinking. It's because I'm the heir of the House of Gremory, my family name hangs over me. No matter what I do I'll always be known as Rias Gremory. I was alone before I met Issei Senna and he became my first friend. I know you said no earlier but please give us a chance Naruto-san. Asia's voice rang through his head. If you're too hellbent on going home that you abandon your friends, then I don't think you deserve to go home. Young Naruto's voice echoed loudly in his head. Damn it. Naruto clenched his fists tightly before quickly getting up and heading to his door. He stopped when he grabbed